Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday, the 3rd of April, 2024. Can also be seen as the second month if you follow the spring equinox as being the start of the new year, and March being the first month. April would be the second month. So we got that 2 divided by 3.66. You got that. It's a Sigma number. Anyway, rabbit holes. Oh my goodness. I have been going down some friggin' rabbit holes, and it's all about current, voltages, DC versus AC, power, electricity versus magnetism, and then just looking at the different components, or I guess I don't know what the characteristics of our atmosphere. The higher up you go, or the lower you go, and the different pressure variations, and all that stuff, right? With the just giving myself more stuff to argue, not argue, but like I bring to the debates regarding the fact that things like pressure and temperature do impact the atmosphere, and that there's some kind of ether. I've been talking about ether for a long time, but now like I've finally stumbled across like some actual older scientific literature that I was able to look at as well, just to further substantiate some things that I had already been familiar with, because it's always good to get sources. Anyway, so as you know, or people should know, as the higher you go up in elevation, it's substantially different than being underwater, many feet under, or being on this flat earth plane. So I was just asking general questions, and so I'm just going to be transparent. What is the relation between the current carrying capacity of a conductor and the altitude of land? The current carrying capacity of a wire is in free air is indeed a function of altitude. And if you're designing power wiring for high altitude airplanes or rockets, or wiring a hut on the top of a high mountain, you may need to take into account that air is less dense. Or this has nothing to do with gravity or like a downward acceleration, none of that bullshit. Okay, it has to do with like the air is less dense and thus less capable of cooling wire at higher altitudes. Following is a derating curve that shows the derating factor for wire in free air versus sea level, with from Advisory Circular AC 43-13-1 Bravo, Chapter 11, Aircraft Electrical Systems, Section 5, Electrical Wire Rating from Aviation Safety Bureau. So you'll see here the altitude and the current derating factor. Very interesting. So it's harder to put fires out and things like that the higher up you go in elevation. Very interesting stuff. And my brother-in-law, he works at high elevations, and it's they have to watch out for electricity and stuff like that hitting, because at higher temperatures, again, there's like more chances to get electrocuted too if you're working on like metal beams and stuff like that. And it's also colder, more pressure the further you go down the water and stuff like that. So also look at, actually I'll show you. So I still need to look a lot more into that, because I've said this a thousand times, that this is some kind of an electromagnetic reality being projected via hyperboloids and toroidal fields on a flat plane of inertia, an inertial plane. But there's also this ether that they're calling friggin' so many different names. But with the electricity and the magnetism, these centripetal and centrifugal forces that are forming like the spiral, what are we going to call it, the cosmic spiral, based on a series of sinusoidal waves. There's just a lot of connections that we need to look at and factor in magnetism as another force or energy, because just like Walter Russell and countless other people have said, that this is light in motion. This is some kind of a motion picture, in my humble opinion, but that's being projected via electricity and magnetism. All right, this unified force, whatever this is, it's experiencing itself dualistically via these two energies or forces that interact with each other to create this cosmos, like I've said, and utilizing the visible and non-visible light spectrum as well in this interplay is what, again, creates this. And I don't know if you can see what I'm sharing. Yeah, so there's different types of paths too that magnets and magnetic fields create. So there's the circular sinusoidal waves, which, you know, if you look at the name, the helix, right? Like the caduceus, the DNA, the rod of Asclepius, and here's like a better visual. And so we really need to look more at the electricity and magnetism together, looking at alternating versus direct charge. So I'm just going to shut things down as I go through before I get into some videos. Just a few more here. Magnetic fields, magnetic fields force moving electrically charged particles in a circular or helical path. This force exerted on electric currents in wires in a magnetic field underlines the operation of electric motors. For more information about magnetic fields, see magnetism. And again, even with magnets, what we're getting taught today, it's nowhere near close to the, again, maybe just like what we're not being taught anymore. So like, it's not like maybe this is all just in information at the Vatican underneath in the libraries, and we just don't have access to it anymore. I want this friggin' information. Okay, why is it taking so long to? Yalla. Why? It's annoying. Okay, well, I don't know why that's being super fucking annoying. So I'll move on. Power supply systems for superconducting magnets are usually low voltage, high current systems. So this is all interesting. And again, even with that, like there's ways of manipulating the voltage and the amps, whatever you want to call it, wattage. Just more things I was looking at. In a DC circuit, the voltage and current vary. This shape is called a sine wave. The triangular signal is AC based because it changes between positive and negative. Direct current DC always flows in the same direction, but it may increase and decrease. A DC voltage is always positive or always negative, but it may increase and decrease. So just more interesting stuff. Bear with me. Just to give you some images of magnetic fields, what they allege they look like. So I believe that there are electromagnetic fields that are containing this this cosmos, and so sort of Ken Wheeler does a better job at showing actual magnetic fields. So this is an actual magnetic field. This one is too. And you've got the centripetal and the centrifugal forces that are also at play that you can't see with your own eyes, but that's at play, right? With the that's interacting with the ether, with the gases within the environment, and that's electricity and magnetism. So anyone that says that that dismisses magnetism for energy, when it's literally even in solar panels and stuff like that, and in cameras, like camera systems, like electrical conducting and magnetic conducting materials are very much needed, and even with light, since this is a light in motion cosmos that's being that's having some kind of like an interaction with like some kind of like a with sound waves, but like some kind of like a sound or tone that's also working in synergy with this light and color. Again, this motion picture. And so in order to project the color spectrum, you would need to have some kind of a pyramidal. Well, you wouldn't necessarily have to have that kind of a shape in order to create that the rainbow colors and stuff like that, but the bending of light at a certain degree through like white light, the bending of white light at certain angles through various objects or surfaces is what creates the light spectrum. And so I would also assume that possibly in the center or in the middle of this earth plane, this cosmos, there would be some kind of a clear crystallized pyramidal shape of sorts that's in the middle. And then possibly that's what's also like kind of like again projecting everything, and then so this ether that's spiraling in the centrifugal spiral waves or paths, whatever you want to call it, that would likely be directly above, as above so below. So it would be like some kind of like a pyramidal form or shape on the surface of the water or the earth, or like on landmass, whatever, and then like a non-visible. Anyway, I hope that makes sense with my fucking brain. I try to explain what goes on in my brain and thought processes, but like maybe, I don't know. Voltage increases, current decreases. Anyway, maybe that's not so important. And so this is the stuff that I look at, and then I also go into math. I want to look at mathematics books and other videos and more literature before I go more into this. But if we decrease the resistance, you increase the current, but the voltage remains the same because by definition, anyway. For people on YouTube, I just was able to post again yesterday. And so I wanted to show you what you've missed in the last week, because I did a debate with Craig and Ozian on Jeran's show, Jeranism. So I hope you take a look at his page and donate and like, share, and subscribe on Jeranism. And he has really good debates, and he has had them for many, many years. So I really hope that he starts banking the cash so that he could do this permanently, because he still has a job, and mouths to feed. And this takes a lot of time. So a week ago, a podcast with Sovereign Soul, Unchained Mind, he was debating with me on my side, Flat Earth side. And it was a great debate. He's so friggin' smart. I highly recommend people take a look at his channel, Sovereign Soul, Unchained Mind. His name is Dave. And then after the debate, I actually went on his after show, so you could take a look at his channel as well for the after show. And that was like 3 hours long or more. So it was exhausting, but it was really interesting and a lot of content. And there was Tucker Anomaly, Jimmy Dore, veterans, and more. I talked about the Helen Gruss trial. There was more updates because of the 25th of March, her being on trial yet again. And again, the people that she's on trial against should be the ones on trial and for treason. But it is what it is. This is just backwards life in Canada nowadays. It's opposite country. First world countries are following China's and North Korea's path to destruction. I highly recommend people take a look at this, because I show the co-ops and like the farms and the and just what communism and certain movements do within a country and in a very short period of time. I'll talk about the Jeranism debate after show, international events, the Zetetic Warrior. I went on his show. And it was interesting, and I talk about the carbon scam, more of that. I call out my own trolls. I talk about Stinky Cash, which his name is Jeff, and like there's groundbreaking information in this video as well. I talk about astronomy way more in depth, petroleum not being a fossil fuel. I talk about the bridge, the cosmic golden spiral. I would honestly take a look at all of these. Conspiracies, current events. Yeah. I break down certain flights to show you just what we're talking about when we say that that the southern flight paths debunk this alleged globe Earth. And so people keep on looking at videos from MC Toons and fucking Ozian and Craig and Professor Dave, and they're not realizing these are paid propagandists. They're not scientists, they're not experts, they're not engineers, they're not like they're not. They're paid propagandists. Controlled opposition, whether they like it or not, whether they know it or not, but they're getting duped to deceive people and be annoying. And so even Bryant Meyers, this guy, he actually, I'm going to show this friggin' video now. I was going to carry on with this video anyway, because he had already made one comment. And this guy, is this the one? No, it's not. He talks about all these books he's written, like on electrostatics and this and that, and I literally just he's been complaining the whole time. So he's not talking. He's like that's so I'm going to warn you there in advance that this guy can be pretty annoying. And I'm letting this play out because he is someone that I knew right away, because like the information that he's showing memes to make fun of flat earthers. So again, he's not taking the debate seriously. Like you finally find out halfway through that this guy's just a fucking troll. And from the UK, oh my God, why did I say it like that? Big hugs from Canada. Big hugs from Canada. That's kind of neat. Where was I going with this stuff? Oh yeah, and so his references and his literature and what he's going off of to refute these intellectuals is things like he goes off of MC Toon's page. Like that's where I stopped yesterday, because I got so upset with that, because the first thing that he had to like actually show actual evidence and data and stuff like that was from a debunking flat earth page. It literally said debunking flat earth. And what have I said for the last few years? I'm like, when people are brainwashed, okay, not scientific, not academic at all, like these are people who are intellectually dishonest. These are the people that are like, how to debunk flat earth. If that's your search, you dumb fuck. Like, no offense, again, like I'm swearing a lot. I'm sorry. Like I actually do believe in God. I try to treat my neighbors polite, but I swear like a sailor. But anyway, he's quoting MC. So if I was to just search like how to debunk the globe, or how to make globe earthers look stupid, I'm gonna find whatever I'm gonna find, right? Like you're reinforcing your own bias. If that makes any sense. You have to be more neutral and less biased, even in your search engine. And again, go on a VPN, click on different countries from different IP addresses, because we are very censored, and look more than at just like the top, 2 or 3 videos or links that you see on friggin' Google. That's just being lazy. And so he literally shows MC Toon. And so I was already disappointed in that. I'm like, wow, this guy is apparently a professor for over 30 years teaching statistics. So teaching like in the science and engineering communities. And so some of that's probably been on send his whole life and never allowed any of his students to question him. And he's just used to that. And like these books that he's written, it's anyway, he's referencing MC Toon and memes to make fun of flat earthers. And then he's going off of pages that say, debunking flat earthers. And again, it's by MC Toon.
It make a lot of sense when you study it.
And, if I made a model about Superman flying, and then I saw a shooting star and I said that's Superman flying in the math match.
He contacted, if you're just tuning in, he contacted Bryant, has all these accolades and stuff like that, directly contacted Dave Weiss. Okay. First of all, the nerve in that as well, because he wanted to embarrass him and shame him. And so this is what I mean. This little fucking punk probably stayed and played video games his entire life. And in university he doesn't look like he's ever played sports or lifted a fucking weight. And again, there's no offense, but this little nerd tried to be an intellectual bully, because he's used to being an intellectual bully, because no one ever questions him, because they're intimidated by the accolades and the books and stuff like that, because he keeps on bringing it up. Oh, I've written books. And it, wah, wah! That's what it sounds like to people like me. And your books are wrong. Your books are wrong. Sorry. And Austin lets you know.
So that means Superman is flying.
But he contacted Dave because he wanted to embarrass him on his show. And little did he know, the arrogance. And it's because he was one of the trolls, probably on Craig's show, watching these debates, and he's eating his popcorn and stuff like that and believing everything Craig says, because he's not an actual intellectual. He's not an actual critical thinker. So he thinks that Craig's somehow making all these good fucking points, or Professor Dave, not a real professor. And he's like, oh, that sounds good. Oh, yeah. Oh, and MC Toon is good too. Doesn't look at Newton. He doesn't look at Einstein, their works, like I've even showed you. He's not even looking at the fucking people whose work's been debunked or to understand why, or understand work that they actually did that was actually good and was beneficial to humanity, so that we can discard some things but keep the rest, especially the stuff on plasma and ether and things like that. These are all good works. Anyway, sorry.
You guys pick like one. You guys look for the one flaw and then ignore all the other things that are making excellent predictions. You know, and then
because excellent predictions doesn't mean that it's true. It doesn't mean that we just accept it then.
Who's the scientist that said that
they made predictions about the eclipses before that they knew the Earth was round? They knew about eclipses back.
Your model can't even predict eclipses. I mean,
what do you mean?
Dude,
what are you
NASA's
talking
using
about?
the geocentric model and the Saros cycle to this day. They don't have a 3-body equation, but this is the problem. Everyone says predictions, but that's not true.
Geocentric is still a spherical Earth.
But Bryant, yeah, okay, but it's not moving. And so, but the problem is it's not predictions,
so
it's post-dictions, okay? We make observations, and then we take the math and we make it work in our model. It doesn't predict things that aren't already known. It takes what is known, and then it reverse engineers the math.
You guys have no model. You can't even predict why things fall.
So that means it must be not true.
Well, hopefully we'll get to that, and I will show you you're drastically wrong about that.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait to get to hear what you guys have to say about gravity.
That's why I'm hoping we just move on past all the reification fallacies and the, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, we all went to kindergarten. I mean, we know the basic stuff that you believe, you know.
Easy, Sean. Easy.
I mean, this is why I wanted to do
poke number one.
No, Brian, I'm just playing. Brian, it's a joke.
I know,
man.
but
Brian, and by the way,
I can't have a discussion with 4 people. It's
well, we're all making the same. It could be one person saying all of the same stuff. This is just a little more efficient.
I can agree to be quiet. I got a toothache going. It's not the
we'll be
greatest,
quiet.
So I'll be quiet.
Everybody mute. Go ahead. Good, Brian.
This is what I feared was going to happen. But anyway.
No, what are you fearing? We're having a great conversation.
You wanted to fucking own the show. He had all of these fucking lists. By the way, there was even like going off the list, I could literally debunk. So, and he's going off MC Toons and Craig. And so this is what I mean. He's getting all upset now. He's in a tantrum this whole fucking video because he wanted to be the one that was the embarrassing and humiliating these people. That's exactly what he wanted. And now he's complaining. And you get what you ask for. I debated a nuclear engineer. I don't even know if that's even a fucking real. I don't know if that's even true. And so for me, it was like to learn. It was literally that. Like and so this guy is just intellectually dishonest. He's just a bully.
Come on.
And it's because he's not a real bully. Like, so he has to use his brain. Like he's just one of those weak people. Weak men create weak societies. That's all I gotta say about that.
You were afraid that maybe we'd make some sense. Maybe
no,
that's
it's not making sense. I just can't explain. I mean, I've heard all your stuff, Dave, and everything I can. You know, it's not.
I've heard all your stuff, Dave.
But you're just dismissing everything outright.
I'm not dismissing it outright. I can do. I spent hours doing these calculations and doing experiments.
Hours.
Okay, so
I can show to myself that this is not true.
Okay, so
he's
exactly how your eyes would see it.
No, your eyes will see that ball getting smaller in the distance.
It is smaller in the distance. Look,
you see the ball in the distance right here? It's smaller because it's farther away.
Right. That's
okay.
How
but
now
when something is already far away from you, so now we're up high. You could flip it over if you're looking up in the sky, and they're both pretty close to the same size. And as it moves, it's almost the same size. Okay. And when you said, depending on the camera, good solar filter, the sun doesn't change size. Many times it has changed size. We show that the sun does change size, but it's a little different every day depending on the atmosphere, what's going on, and what you're looking at. Yeah, but it does clearly change size.
It changes sizes a little bit throughout the year based on our distance from the sun, but it's not much.
It changes over the same day.
Solarium says it changes throughout the day. It actually gets smaller and bigger throughout the day. Solarium data does.
Depending on the weather conditions and what part of the Earth you're on, in my opinion.
There might be some refraction, but in general, the sun stays the same size during the whole.
It also can magnify at times too. It's an optical illusion, in my opinion.
A little bit.
And
Brian didn't do it at all.
I'm the same distance. I'm straight over this ball, and the other ball is pretty much the same size.
But that's not the perspective.
That's exactly how perspective works.
No, it isn't. Perspective is from your eyes going out, Dave, not from the top looking down.
Well, when you're looking at the sun, is it your eyes going out, or is your eyes looking up? Same thing as looking down.
But
when you're looking at the sun,
No,
if
instead-
the sun was right in front of you, literally in front of your face, and went away, it would get smaller. But because it's up high, so your sun's this would be their sun, and it would get smaller, sure. But because it's up high, you don't have that perspective.
Picture looking that in this. That's in the sky. Don't picture like we're looking down. Flip it up in the air.
I'm looking up in the sky. Here's the sun at noon, and here's the sun at sunset.
Yeah.
That's how perspective works. I'm showing you.
That's not how perspective works. But okay,
We're looking at it.
All right. Listen.
All right.
This is
It's
how
okay. Listen, guys.
perspective
This is okay. We can agree to disagree. Everyone makes up their own mind on how that one worked out. Let's go to the next point.
I know, but this is okay. This is perspective. This is how perspective works. But okay, we'll just move on.
That's not. Hold on. That's not how you say that. That's not perspective works.
Meme.
Not at all.
reality.
Cash can tell you that.
It's a calculation of this is angular resolution. It's based on
Not
this
accurate.
Okay, but
arctangent.
nobody ever is seen
this-
from the side view like this ever. That's not how perspective works.
Well, it's not from the side. It's just trying to show you this is the equation for calculating how your angular resolution, when an object goes off in the distance, it gets smaller.
Halves and
It's
doubles,
based on
right?
this is a known perspective. This is how perspective works. When you look at something in the distance, it gets
We have
smaller
the
by this
like I was
relation.
saying, we have the
Halves. It's just
convex
it's called
lens
halves and
in our eyes. So we have like the converging perspective, like Stinky Cash put together in the video, and I'm probably going to show that every few months. I'm not going to lie, because that is a freaking good video. It's a sin that it doesn't have like a billion views by now. Like that's a sin wave.
and doubles when they talk about art. In art,
Well, thank
perspective is
you.
halves and
The
doubles.
arctan is not but this is just it's a pretty well-known equation that even
I'll do better next time.
opticians and optometrists know for angular resolution. And so when you take this idea, it's just a simple.
No, but that's not how we see things. That line that you've
I
drawn
know,
there.
but the sun can never set and get close. In fact,
That's
you
not
have
true.
to go like a million miles away.
No. So imagine that you're in a Brian. Imagine you're in a big room. That's the room that you're in right now. Now I'm picture that it's 5 miles wide. Okay, just picture you're in a 5 mile wide room like you're in. If that light above your head started to go away from you, would it not connect with the floor very quickly?
No.
What do you mean? So
Not-
you're going to see
Not on this. No, it's based on.
I asked you to take the room that you're in. Imagine that it's 5 miles wide.
Oh.
Okay, 5 miles wide in every direction, and the ceiling is still there. Now the light that's on the ceiling, if it starts to go away from you, it's going to merge with the floor, hit the floor, and set.
Correct.
And
Okay.
it'll even
Correct.
get dark where you're at. In your location, it would get dark and it would light up the other end
Sean's
of the
like,
room.
yeah.
Okay, but again, the ceiling is very close to 5
So
miles
is the
away.
sky is very close to the earth.
Again, if in the brightness, the point is to the brightness of the sun. You're not going to get something as bright as the sun down a hallway, because if you did, you would see it. Because
Okay.
again, it's photons that hit your eyes, not
Brian?
the resolution.
Brian, is it possible that you've never seen my sunset kitchen?
It's possible.
Vamos a hacer de cenar rapidín, pim, pim, porque
These little,
He will literally spend years. He'll spend years not only in school, but he'll spend years as an academic teaching this stuff. And then other years like watching and jerking off to Craig and Ozian, but he'll spend a few hours looking at YouTube videos, literally going off of how to debunk flat earth for a few. Okay. Yeah, because that's going to teach you a lot. That's going to deconstruct all the brainwashing and stuff like that. All these like oh my God, that's going to come. Yeah.
I have a question for you. Is it possible you've never seen it?
I don't know that I've seen this.
Oh, thank
Okay,
you.
so let me, it's 1 minute, so just watch before you shake your head no. So this line here is the path of the sun, and I'm viewing it from a celestial point of view. And I'm watching, oh, it's not playing. Oh, now it's
It's
playing. And so it's moving along. Now, this here can be mountains, it could be cloud deck, it could be just the atmospheric deck. I never go below it, and the sun moves along. Now, I have another camera on the deck, on the ground, on the other side, looking at that same thing. And when I look, the sun goes down due to perspective. And this opaque barrier right here, which is now at my eye level, but it's really not, but it looks like it is, the sun looks like it's going below it, but it's not. It's going straight. And when I look at it really close, look at this line. This is a level line. It's level. But it looks, hold on, I'm not done. It looks like it's going down. Now let's compare it to a real sunset. We're just going to compare. Here's the sun. It went down, 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 down. And now look what's going on. It's going behind this atmospheric deck or mountain ridge or whatever.
Okay, now that I can tell you is not the way sunsets work. I have seen countless sunsets on.
So what are you saying? That's a fake video?
No, this can be one sunset with a certain atmospheric conditions, but in general, what you get more than often than not is a hard fall. And I used to sun gaze on.
So in general, you're going to get the same effect once it hits another tree line or mountain range or artificial horizon.
Wait, but also you see the space here between where it's setting. Hold on. Just let me make my point and we'll go right back to you. I'm telling you, the space between here and the ground, you can't see it. It looks like it's the same. It's compressed. I'm zoomed in here. And if I zoomed out, this would literally look like it's going behind a hard horizon. But it's just because your eye can't see it.
You zoom in, and this is what you get. No matter how far you zoom, you're going to always get a hard cutoff with the
right. Yeah. And here's the hard cutoff right here. Here's the hard cutoff. If I put a solar filter on, you wouldn't see the difference between this water and this hard thing. You would just see the sun, just like you're seeing it in yours.
But that's not fully set. It's still
it is fully set if you zoomed out.
I know, but I can't see it because you're so small. I mean,
well, okay.
I think I've seen this picture before though, and I remember saying to myself, that's not really that's going behind some refractive effects or something.
So look here. It looks like the sun's going behind a hard line, but if we zoom in, it's really not even setting. Okay, so here we go. We're going to zoom in. Jeran, can you make me big so you can see it?
Yes.
As I zoom in, you look. Oh, look, it's not even touching the horizon.
No, because it hasn't set yet.
But it will set because it's going to go behind this opaque barrier. This opaque barrier is thousands of feet above my eye line, but it looks like it's at eye level. This opaque barrier.
Why are you shaking
thousands
his
of feet.
How can that be thousands of feet above your eye line?
Oh my
Are
God.
these clouds above my eye line?
That opaque.
Right. As they go into the distance, everything merges in. The clouds are all at the same height.
If you guys buy into a flat Earth, then how can it be 1,000? It doesn't make any sense.
So hold on a second. So when I'm looking down Long Island Sound here, the clouds touch the water 25 miles away. They literally touch the water. So the curvature in 25 miles is only a few hundred feet. Okay. So you're telling me clouds that are at 5,000 or 10,000 feet have gone over that much curvature and are actually going behind a curve, or is it just perspective? I mean, I just proved that it was just perspective.
No, you didn't prove anything. That's not proof of anything.
He's delusional.
So is it curvature?
Dave, the reason
I'm talking about the
Look at Sean
clouds.
again.
Listen, I told you I lived on Siesta Key for 7 years, and I did sun gazing for a year. I watched.
I did sun gazing for a year.
I'm telling you, yes, there's some days where refraction.
Oh yeah, I played this out. Okay, I'm gonna forward this a little more.
Gravitational constant m1 m2 over r squared, and we can, unless you're in a really high gravitational field like in a black hole where you're going near the speed of light, these equations hold very, very accurately. And again, yes, gravity hasn't been proven, but no theory is ever proven. So a theory versus a law is something that.
And people say that gravity and inertia are interchangeable, even the likes of Newton and Einstein.
Tries to explain what the law is saying. So the theory of gravity went from Newtonian theory to, and then Einstein updated it to a better theory of general relativity. And the interesting thing though is that, Newton's equations weren't proven wrong. They actually are special cases within relativity where space is really flat and time is not so fast, and the speeds aren't really super high. So you actually get Newton's equation. So the new theory didn't, it transcended, but it included Newton's equations, but just as a special case.
Yeah.
And again, with general relativity.
Wait, can we talk about one at a time? Is that cool? Instead of like, you're saying Newtonian, go ahead. I guess just.
I was just going to go through the gravity, then we can talk about gravity in general. Then we'll get to the flat Earth gravity thing I have set up. So
we're not going to get to rebut all your claims right now about gravity.
No, we are. No, we are.
Gravity.
No. I said let's just get through this, then we'll have a discussion, and then
Okay, fair enough.
And I know you guys have seen this stuff before. So there's a lot of validation for relativity, and I'm sure you guys know with LIGO, which by the way, the long interferometer arms did have to account for curvature of the Earth.
Oh my God.
I mean, incredibly accurately confirmed relativity to like 8 decimal places. I mean, it makes it one of the most accurate theories as far as making predictions that we've ever had, along with quantum electrodynamics. So
is it true about LIGO? The LIGO, the amount of the string displacement was smaller than
Incorrect.
a proton?
Yeah, well, it has to be smaller than
The model.
diameter of an atomic nucleus. Actually,
Wow,
it's not a
Wow.
photon.
it's amazing.
No, that's incredible. Exactly, it is incredible. It's incredible precision that has to happen
Mhm.
to detect a gravitational wave. But this chirp that took place in 2 locations. They didn't just do 1 location. They did it in Washington and like Louisiana.
Mhm.
They were able to confirm the exact same gravitational pattern exactly as predicted by general relativity.
So
And it was just an amazing.
a couple weeks ago, I read a
That's
story.
cap, bro.
A couple weeks ago, I read a story that they first faked the experiment to see if everybody would agree with it, and they did. They faked it to LIGO the first time. Everybody showed up at the press conference, and then they were told that it was fake, but nobody knew. Nobody knew it was faked.
Yeah, but again, that's just conjecture. I mean,
No,
What?
it's not. I just told you I could give you the article where they write about it. It's called.
okay, an article. Well, send me the article and I'll look at it.
I'm not
Isn't
Good
that
answer.
weird if that's true? Isn't that weird if it's true, bro?
I mean, I'll look at it. I mean, I'll look. I will look at it. I really will.
I hope he does.
Okay.
I do.
So, but I'm not convinced until I can see it and take a
But
look.
if it's true, is that not really weird? That's
This
what
is from a year ago.
I mean, that's it.
If you confirm that.
we're just playing what ifs right now, though.
No, but just to be,
It
it's
is
an
true.
intellectual honesty thing, right? Like hypothetically, if they lied to everyone and just to see if they would believe it, I mean, that would be kind of weird, right?
And it would be weird if it happened to be
yes,
100
yeah.
years to the day that 100 years to the year that Einstein predicted them. That'd be crazy. Like, what are the chances it would be on the 100th
But
year?
that's just a coincidence. That's
Oh,
a
it's coincidence,
the
yeah.
coincidence argument. That doesn't make.
It's amazing.
Doesn't
Yeah.
prove
No, I didn't.
anything.
It doesn't prove anything.
It would be weird. Okay.
I
Go
mean,
ahead.
it's just like Stephen Hawking being born like exactly a couple hundred years after, like, what was it, Galileo or something. It doesn't prove that he's a reincarnation of.
They said that they faked it, bro. It's weird.
Well,
So we can-
I'll look at the information, but I've spent, the Nobel Prize by Kip Thorne. I mean, it was a really big deal, and I've looked at
Oh, Jesus.
it doesn't seem like it was fake. I mean, everything that I've seen looks pretty.
Obama got the Peace Prize from
for
the same
dropping
people
most
that
bombs
yeah.
ever.
I put,
Yeah,
it,
so-
I put it in the chat,
But
by the
the
way.
pure-
It's in the chat.
I know, but again, I'm with you with Obama, but with,
Okay.
with the pure sciences, this is where I disagree with
The
you.
same people.
Well, we'll see. I mean, but again,
Yeah, the title,
this
and this is
to
written.
me is this to me is just common sense. I don't know why you guys put like upside down boats like on the. I mean,
So-
that's the old
Because that's what's
anti-pole-
happening in reality, right? I mean, it's what's happening is if you were to be looking from space, there is a boat sitting at the bottom of the Earth upside down. Now I know you say no, it's not upside down. It's
No,
right-
you realize that the satellite's upside down, looking at it right side up. Though you're missing. The satellites go. You do get that, right?
Hold
Yeah,
on,
but one boat is antipodal to the other boat. Or,
The antipodal theory was from the Middle Ages. Like I told you.
no, there's
the
antipodes now. Things are antipode to me on the.
Brian,
Oh,
so
I'm
when they
sorry.
showed us the
No,
picture of the
I-
Earth, right, and they
the
show the
idea-
moon,
He hasn't posted any videos on. He actually has a YouTube channel. He has more friggin' subscribers than I do. Like, oh my god! And he has 120 videos. So for me, I see the 120, 102, the 2, all that stuff. But it's been 7 months since he's posted.
in front of the
No
Earth.
videos
Brian,
on
think about
this.
it, right? They showed us the moon in
They're
front of the Earth.
nothing.
If that satellite had zoomed in on the top of the ball and then zoomed out and then zoomed in on the bottom of the ball, it would have saw stuff upside down on the bottom of the ball from its outside perspective.
Yeah, but you can't get zoomed that far.
Well, we know that, but we're saying
But
No,
again,
But we can zoom in on like
Also,
Newspapers
things
from
trillions of
satellites
miles
away.
away.
Again,
or something. Yeah.
the way that gravity works is that everything is getting pulled towards the center. That is a center of mass.
we know how they tell
We
us. it
know
works.
that.
Okay, this
Oh my
is so.
God. So Bryant Meyers, BSMA Physics, is a former physics professor, so I guess he isn't anymore, TV host, author, and leading expert in the field of energy medicine and PEMF, CEO of Energy Ways LLC. Wow. Well, in that case, if he's not a flat earther and he's claiming that he is the leading expert in anything regarding physics of anything, I'm gonna say that that's a lie.
Again, well, let's just go to. Okay,
So we just need to buy into. I mean,
Oh, and I did tell Jeran, like, I'll debate him as well. Like Bryant Meyers, I would, and so if you're watching, I would debate you as well. I would keep it respectful. I'll
the
try not to
problem I
get
have with
annoyed
it
by
is
your
like when they go up in
whining
these.
voice.
High,
Whoa, whoa,
these-
whoa, whoa, whoa! What's this?
Whoa.
Hold on,
No, no,
Can I
Kidding, that was me.
address? Can I address some
we're
of that,
We're gonna
please?
discuss.
Can I-
No, I'm just pulling up. We're gonna discuss.
So like a
We're not-
Can I address
parabolic
some of what you
flight.
said first?
If we dropped a
was there
bunch of
any way-
Skittles, why don't the Skittles get together? Why don't they come together in a zero G plane or in the ISS? How come the Skittles just go everywhere? Why don't
because
they?
the Skittles are very low mass. You understand how weak.
So how did
What
the
about
Earth start
math
then?
again?
How did any planet or star start if
Well,
low mass doesn't do it?
again, you understand that everything is
We're
spheres.
talking about
because
gravity.
everything is being
Mass,
pulled in.
density.
The
Yeah, but
beautiful
you
thing
just
about
said
the
that
theory-
you just said that if something is too small of a mass, it won't attract anything. So how did they start?
that's a massive amount of energy density when the
Hey,
gas.
can I
Go
can I
ahead,
address
Austin.
your arguments, man? You made a few fallacious arguments. So for one, you're talking about mass attracting mass.
Yeah.
Please just give me a couple minutes, please. You're talking about mass attracting mass. That's way outdated, right? That's like superseded in 1905 by special relativity, then turned into
Well,
general
I
relativity in 19.
explained that. I explained that.
Bro, you got to give me a couple seconds, man. You said a lot of stuff that's just all provably wrong. Okay. So then you brought up Cavendish. Well, when Cavendish did it, he didn't even account for the variable of electrostatics, which is an attractive force. And so the torsion part, like the actual mass itself, whatever, he had to run away and use a telescope and barely saw it move. And even if you use something to control for that variable, you can never eliminate the variable electrostatics, right? Because all molecular and intermolecular attractive forces are electrostatic in nature, and that's an attractive force, and you're barely getting any change, and it's not consistent. So it definitely doesn't prove gravity. You're claiming it proves mass attracting mass. That's not even the claimed model anymore. That's just really, really old.
No,
That's
Hold on, let him finish. It's his turn. Just let him go. It'll be quick. Go ahead, Austin.
Yeah, and so then the whole relativity thing, you said that it's been proved, and then you brought up like the fifth of a proton, whatever. But the theory of relativity has been debunked on the cosmological and quantum scale within your own paradigm. It isn't accurate at all whatsoever. It's never been proven. And then when you looked at the Arthur Eddington thing, like, dude, they admit that might not be actual bending and warping of space-time. So simply put, there's actually no empirical evidence that's ever verified gravity. And then when you're talking about the downward acceleration, that's an effect that we observe on the Earth. It's not exclusive to the idea that we're on a magic spinning ball in a vacuum. Things go down on a flat Earth too, bro. On a stationary flat Earth, that's just the effect. You're claiming the cause of the effect. We want to prove the cause. The fact that we engineer things based on the downward acceleration agreed upon average isn't exclusive to the Earth being a ball or gravity or something. The fact we use 9.8 meters per second squared to engineer things has nothing to do with the Earth being a ball. So those are just fundamental misrepresentations of what's actually going on. We're questioning your cause claim, bro. And mass attracting mass isn't what your cause claim is anymore, because that was debunked a long time ago. And
proven as a special case. But
no, they're different because Newton's doesn't
they're
work.
not different. Newton is basically
Newton's doesn't work on the solar system scale.
You can take relativity. No, you can take relativity and take the curvature down to close to zero, very low curvature, and you take the speeds and you reclaim Newton's equations from general relativity. Newton's equations are in general relativity.
I'm trying to help you out here, okay? So downward acceleration on the Earth is not because that there's mass attracting mass. That's not what your model claims. And electrostatics is 10 to the 30. Listen, man, electrostatics is 10 to the 36th power stronger than gravity even claims to be. And then you can look at Walter Lewin from MIT explain to you that all effects observed on the Earth is from electricity or electrics or electrostatics, that nothing to do with downward acceleration or anything observed with how your body is on the Earth or anything. Is anything other than electric. This is MIT professor for 4 decades within your own paradigm, astrophysics.
No, I watched that video. No, I've got his book and I've watched that video.
So it's 10 to 36 power stronger than gravity claims to be.
But if you watch
the videos on gravity,
stronger, they'll tell you that everything is electrically neutral, which is why you don't see, again, why we don't get much large scale electrical.
Right. He says that out on the planetary scale, that gravity takes over. Okay. So when you're talking about all the planes and trains and automobiles on the Earth, and we couldn't even do anything on a flat Earth because we have to use gravity. That's patently false. That isn't true. Electrostatics is way stronger than gravity. It's just a fact.
It's mostly electrically neutral, though.
No, it has just because things cancel out doesn't mean it doesn't have electrostatic potential. And it's resting.
I'm on the whole I'm on a different model than both of these guys. Honestly, Whitsitt's a friggin' genius. This guy, he would be smarter if he was intellectually honest and if he would actually think critically and just stop. Because he's shaking his head a lot. He's I'm just gonna move past the electrical stuff because regarding electricity and magnetism, this is all correct as well. The higher up you go, as well. The temperature drops, you get colder and there's less pressure, and it's vice versa when you go in the water. Anyway.
Question for you, an experiment.
And this is what pisses me off too, because flat earthers assert it is impossible for the pressurized atmosphere to meet the vacuum of space. Yeah, we do say that. because of so many different laws. But like gases
I'm
need
in a room.
to be in a
I have a
contained environment,
shoebox.
or they violently like equalize or whatever you want to call it in order to expand out into its environment.
And I suck all the air out of the room. An open shoebox. I suck all the air out of the room from underneath. So now,
Like all the gases within Earth would be sucked out into the vacuum of space, without this being having a contained barrier, you know. And so this is another reason why we did not go and land on the friggin' moon. Actually, speaking of the moon, you would not like, oh my god, you would not get 99% of the videos I share literally anywhere else. American Moon. This is from Luo Commune 2. I haven't subscribed yet, but this is like 4.5, 5 years ago. This person seems to be really adamant that they don't want the whole video shared by sorry.
Series of the moonwalks had been filmed in.
Okay. So this person doesn't like flat earthers, and I don't give a fuck. This is fair use. It's on YouTube. I'm sorry. And just like you're saying, this video contains copyrighted material for purpose of criticism, education, news reporting, in accordance with the Berne Convention, etc., U.S. Copyright Code, Title 17, Fair Use Clause. Use of copyrighted material does not imply endorsement by copyright holder. So just like you did, I'm doing. So this is all like technical analysis. This is over 3 hours long. I'm not going to share the whole thing, but this is American Moon, and you will not find this, or maybe now, but like people have said even in the comments that like they can't find this on their own searches. Yeah, that's censored.
End, driven not so much by the competition with the Soviets, but rather by the monstrous propaganda machine they themselves had set in motion at the beginning of the decade. Officially, the so-called race to the moon began on April 12, 1961, when the Soviets managed to put into orbit the first human being, Yuri Gagarin. It was then that President Kennedy asked Vice President Johnson to assess what the actual possibilities were for the United States to beat the Russians into space. This is where a very important...
And this guy had a lot of involvement in this. And this guy here lied, and duped an American president and countless other high-level government employees and officials and stuff like that. This guy literally, I'm going to show you the videotapes, the record, all the stuff. This guy and his family, everything that they have now should be taken away from them, and they should all be in jail because of him.
Important figure.
I know that's excessive. They didn't commit any, but like accountability, peaceful. But the biggest deceiver, like his name should go down in history as him being the biggest deceiver in the 20th century. For humanity.
Into the picture, NASA Administrator James E. Webb. Johnson consulted with Webb and a few days later returned to Kennedy with an answer.
Illegal.
Among the contemplated possibilities, one was to send a man to the moon. 2 weeks later, President Kennedy delivered the following speech in front of Congress.
Now it is time to take longer strides. Time for a great new American enterprise. Time for this nation to take a clearly leading role in space achievement. I therefore ask the Congress, above and beyond the increases I have earlier requested for space activities, to provide the funds which are needed to meet the following national goals. First, I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
From that moment on, NASA Administrator James Webb threw all his energies behind the Lunar project. From NASA's historical archives, we read, Webb, who had endorsed the Apollo program to Kennedy, now had his priorities fixed on the manned lunar landing, and he reorganized the space agency accordingly. An excellent mediator, Webb managed to gather the support from prominent political figures
Christians would call him the Antichrist.
such as Senator Kerr from Oklahoma.
He further took people away from God. That's such a
From
shame.
the NASA archives, we read, Kerr told his congressional colleagues that Webb was enthusiastic about the program and that if Jim Webb says we can land a man on the moon and bring him safely home, then it can
If Jim Webb says we can land a man on the moon and bring him safely home, then it can be done.
be done.
He convinced them all.
This endorsement concludes the
Well done,
document,
Psycho.
secured considerable political support for the Lunar project. Behind the scenes, however, Kennedy remained skeptical about such a monumental task. On September 18, 1963, Kennedy summoned Webb at the White House to express his doubts about the Lunar project. Thanks to a recently released recording, we can listen to the actual conversation between the two men.
If I get reelected, we're not going to go to the moon in our period, are we? Really? No, you're not going. You'll fly by us, probably. You think the man landing on the moon is a good idea? Yes, I think it is.
Yes,
sir. When you do the same with
Because I get a lot of money for it. Could you do the same with instruments much cheaper? Because he's siphoning so much fucking money from Americans and Canadians.
No, see, you can't do the same. The lunar landing.
Oh no, you can't do it cheaper. You cannot do it cheaper, sir. Because then I don't get to have sex with little girls and little boys. That costs a lot of money. I gotta pay off a lot of people.
Yeah, but there's to build big boosters and to tailor them specifically for the purpose. Therefore, they're going to succeed. Otherwise, they would not have succeeded. All beneficial. But this looks like a hell of a lot of dough to go to the moon when you can bring most of what you want scientifically through instruments. And putting a man on the moon really is a stunt, and it isn't worth that many billions.
Only 2 days later, in front of the United Nations, Kennedy made one last attempt to engage the Soviets in going to the moon together.
Finally, in a field where the United States and the Soviet Union have a special capacity in the field of space,
He was trying to be
There is-
fiscally responsible.
room for new cooperation, for further joint efforts in the regulation and exploration of space. I include among these possibilities
He had
a
no
joint
idea.
expedition to the moon.
Khrushchev's response was not long in coming, but
didn't
it
know
was
the reality
certainly
of the
not
world.
encouraging. 1 month later, at a meeting with the foreign press, the chief of the Kremlin stated, "At the present time, we do not plan flights of cosmonauts to the moon. I have read a report that the Americans wish to land on the moon by 1970. Well, let's wish them success, and we will see how they fly there and how they will land there, or to be more correct, moon there. And most important, how they will get up and come back. We do not wish to compete in sending people to the moon without thorough preparation."
They took off their hats.
At that point, Kennedy realized that the die was cast and that the United States would have to go it alone.
This nation has tossed its cap over the wall of space. We have no choice but to follow it.
The day after, in Dallas, John Kennedy was killed. But at that point, the lunar program had been launched and passed directly into the hands of the new president, Lyndon Johnson. In the meantime, the Soviets were still trying to develop a lunar program and were secretly training their cosmonauts for it. But their program ended abruptly for a number of different reasons. The first was the unexpected death of Sergei Korolev, the father of the Russian space program.
During routine surgery in January 1966, Korolev died. The one figure with the authority and vision to galvanize the system behind the goal of beating the Americans had gone.
Lying to people?
The man who had launched the first satellite, Sputnik, who had put the first man in orbit, Gagarin, the man who had conceived the entire Soviet space program, was gone without leaving a successor, and there was no one capable of replacing him at that point. This led to a series of internal divisions at the top of the Russian Space Agency, which resulted in a streak of dramatic disasters. 4 heavy rockets of the new N-1 kind, designed to reach the moon, exploded during testing on the ground. It was the end of the Soviet lunar program, as described by Roald Sagdaev, the former director of the Russian Space Agency.
Very few people remember that in parallel with American Apollo program, Soviets attempted to have their own program. But this Soviet program on kind of counterpart to American Apollo, it failed. It failed because the large rocket, Russian counterpart to Saturn V, exploded several times, even without getting chance to take off the launching site.
In the meantime, the situation in the United States was rapidly changing.
This evening, I came here to speak to you about Vietnam. I do not have to tell you that our people are profoundly concerned about that struggle.
The Vietnam War now completely occupied the minds of the Americans, while ingurgitating an ever-increasing share of the national budget. At the same time, the cost of the Apollo program was spiraling out of control. As this documentary of the time explains, the cost of the lunar project had soared beyond all expectations even before a single rocket had lifted off the ground.
The status of fabrication and testing of Apollo hardware was such that the program had reached and passed its peak costs. Before a single manned Apollo mission was launched, the program itself began to go out of business.
In fall of 1965, General Samuel C. Phillips, director of the lunar landing program, presented NASA executives with a report that exposed in no mild terms the state of confusion and shortcomings suffered by the Apollo program. In particular, Phillips pointed his finger on the command module and the second stage of the Saturn rocket, which had been contracted to the aerospace company North American. After 4.5 years, and a little more than a year before first flight, wrote Phillips, there are still significant technical problems and unknowns affecting this stage. A North American inspector in charge of security verifications presented a 50-page report revealing that the problems denounced by Phillips had been anything but resolved. Among the most prominent issues, Barron listed difficulties with people, parts, equipment, and procedures, not to mention poor safety practices and the accidents they caused. In particular, Barron denounced a lack of coordination between people in responsible positions, a lack of communication between almost everyone, the fact that people in responsible positions did not take many of the problems seriously. Barron then added, "We should not compromise the safety of the astronauts just for the benefit of a schedule." As if to confirm Barron's premonitions, on January 20, the rocket that was supposed to take the first manned flight into orbit exploded during the testing phase. And then, 7 days later, tragedy struck. During a ground simulation of Apollo 1, the first Saturn mission with men on board, the 3 astronauts, Virgil Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee, died on the launch pad, burned alive inside the capsule that was supposed to take them into space 3 weeks later. Just moments before his death, Grissom had complained about the malfunctioning of the communications between the capsule and the control tower.
Hey, how are we going to get to the moon if we can't talk between 3 buildings? I can't hear a thing you're saying.
Jesus Christ.
How are we going to get to the moon if we can't talk between 2 or 3 buildings?
They were his last words. A few seconds later, a blaze engulfed the interior of the cabin, which was pressurized with pure oxygen. The first to call out the fire was White.
Or even like a
Then
little
came
bit
a
of a static
desperate
electrical
scream
charge
from
could have
Chaf.
fucking set it off.
Then nothing else. In a few seconds, it was all over. The Apollo program was suspended indefinitely, even before a single capsule had been launched into space. The technical commission charged with discovering the cause of the fire was entrusted to astronaut Frank Borman. At the end of the investigation, it was concluded that the Apollo capsule needed to be redesigned from top to bottom.
No shit.
This added another year of delay to the already tight program schedule. At that point, many felt that the Apollo program was over even before it started.
That was quite a shock. I almost had to pull over to the side of the road, catch my breath, because I thought, well, this is the end of our future. The program started to just...
It should have been.
Turn.
This is the end of our future. Cares more about fucking money in his career than the actual lives that were lost. I've shared that as with Grisham and the other ones. Like I've shared that video before. It's these are all tragic events, and people are trying to call this bullshit out. And people like, oh my god, weak men create weak societies. Weak fucking men.
Churn and churn and churn.
With the months passing fast, the 1969 deadline was getting closer and closer.
Shame on all of them.
In March 1967, NASA Administrator James Webb testified in front of the House Committee on Science and Astronautics.
He's a liar.
This was a very different person from the one who had enthusiastically supported President Kennedy's project 6 years before. But my own judgment, declared Webb, is that if we get this done by the end of 1969, we will be very, very fortunate. The possibility of doing all the work necessary is less this year than it was last. And I testified at this table last year that it was less at that time than it had been the previous year. In other words, according to the director of NASA himself, the closer they were getting to the end of the decade, the more the dream of reaching the moon was slipping away. And 1 year after these statements, the same James Webb suddenly quit NASA. The man who had inspired Kennedy from the beginning, the man who personally rewarded the astronauts on their return from the first orbits, the man who had done everything possible to allocate the funds to go to the moon, inexplicably abandoned the project of his life, a step away from its realization. On October 7, 1968.
On October 7th, he's part of the same club as Netanyahu, who in 2002 lied to Congress about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq that got us into a war where people died, even people that I know personally and that I love, and I carried their medals and berets during a ramp ceremony in Afghanistan. And other ramp ceremonies as well. October 7th seems to be a pretty big, significant date in some occult groups and some freak occult organizations that like to live action role play. At places like Bohemian Grove and stuff like that, these male-only clubs and these Freemasons and stuff like that, misinterpreting astrotheosophy and the Luminaries.
Less than 3 months before.
So the strike that allegedly happened from Hamas on the 7th of October, it's all connected.
For the historic Apollo 8
they use the same friggin' dates over and over again.
Around the moon, James Webb retired from NASA and returned to private life. NASA's deputy director, Robert Siemens, had also inexplicably resigned in January of the same year. When the Washington Post asked him, there must be some reason why you're leaving right now, why not stay until you get to the moon? Siemens sternly replied, look, I've been down here 7 years. I only intended to stay 2. But it's clear that his resignation must have had something to do with a catastrophic situation in which the Apollo program found itself at that point. Possibly even more surprising was the resignation of astronaut Walter Schirra, which came only 4 days after James Webb's resignation. Schirra was one of the legendary Mercury 7, the original group of astronauts that had started the entire space program back in the 50s. He had already flown on both the Mercury project and the Gemini project, and given his long experience, he was certainly due to...
And people in the polling, the election polls and all this polling that you're seeing in the news, that's a liberal CBC polling. That's not federal. And whatever his name is that owns that, he's like friends and the fixer of Justin Trudeau. Like you couldn't get even more closer to a conflict of interest than that as well. And the fact that our RCMP are going against peaceful protesters yet again during the during April Fool's Day, during like the protests for the carbon scam tax, more theft for people in rural areas and farmers and truck drivers that deliver, that make the food and or create stuff and ship it to people in cities and suburbs. Like we more of a carbon tax increase, so making life more unaffordable. So more farmers are going to have to shut down, live more subsistence, and give less to the communities. And so people like Stephen Guilbeault have no idea what he's talking about. He's still not answering the phone. Neither is Melanie Joly or Pascal Saint-Onge or Chrystia Freeland, who got money from WEF as part of the World Economic Forum on the board. And she's our deputy prime minister and finance minister. The fact that this is a terrorist organization, an international terrorist organization, and yes, I said what I said, and that she's affiliated with it, and that we've given over $500,000 of money in order to campaign for the pandemic and everything, and the carbon push. So yes, you heard that right. So all these studies that were done for the carbon scam, $500,000 or probably more was actually given to WEF. Must be nice. I would have loved to have that money and work for Canada on behalf of Canadians, and teach the SRDTs and hostile environment awareness trainings to people at cabinet. But they're too busy giving our money to other people, including apparently Taiwan as well in the last 24 hours. Must be nice. Stealing from Canadians and then getting a pay raise, all these people within cabinet, not investigated for treason, none of that stuff yet, and then giving more of our money for proxy wars.
To be sent to the moon with the Apollo program at some point. Yet, inexplicably, only a few months before the first lunar missions, Chirac gave up the possibility of triumphantly crowning his lifelong career and chose to retire instead. Why these people who...
the temperature variances too. So what he means by that, or she, I don't know. But like going from like minus 200 degrees Fahrenheit to like a plus 200 degrees Fahrenheit allegedly on the moon. Wake up. In those suits, and even when they were on Earth, watching whatever you want to call it, like other fake ass like rocket launches and stuff like that, they had blankets over the astronaut suits because it was cold. Like, that wasn't an extreme.
who had dedicated the best part of their professional life to the space program chose to resign just months before the final achievement is a question that remains to be answered. In fact, after the Apollo 1 fire, many at NASA wondered whether they should just stop altogether. But they realized they could no longer withdraw from the race, for they were held hostage by the very challenge they had thrown to the world a few years before.
Or you could just...
This sentiment was well summarized by Chris Kraft, the former Houston Space Center director.
No? After the fire, I don't think we...
That was the 1960s. They could have just admitted they were wrong. They could have just admitted they were wrong. Like 60-something years. This is 60-something years ago. These psychopaths, these astronauts, these actronauts that are still alive, these Buzz Aldrin types that should be in jail. I don't care if he's 1,000 years old. Okay, jail for however long he gets to fucking live because he's had a life of luxury on our dime, lying to our children, to us, etc. And because of ego.
We would have continued had we not
or
made the
being
commitment.
Psychopaths.
The country made the commitment and they would have looked like a bunch of gooks.
Yeah, exactly.
If they hadn't continued on in the eyes of the world and in their competitive position in the Cold War.
It is at this point, according to the alternative theory, that the heads of NASA decided to stage in a studio what they would have not been able to achieve in reality.
There's Warner.
The moon landings of the Apollo missions. After all, by that time, NASA had developed all the technology needed to simulate a complete mission to the moon and back without ever having to leave the Earth. As we will later see, all they would have needed to do was to use the images produced by the simulators to the conquest of the moon had been sold to the public like something imminent and certain. These clips from the propaganda films of the time help us to understand the spirit of the era.
There were so many propaganda films like Star Trek, Star Wars, like Disney and Paramount and cartoons and there's just, it was all like, and even in education systems, they had the globe and stuff
Future, like American astronauts will explore the moon. This is the first of the big Saturn V. Someday it will carry 3 men and equipment to the moon and back. In a few short years, this scene of man on the moon will be a reality. This is the Apollo Command Module. A spacecraft like this will one day carry astronauts to the moon and back.
This is the lunar module. A similar craft will one day allow 2 astronauts to set gently down on the surface of the moon.
Kennedy Space Center, a reality in the preparation for manned lunar landings.
Come on. Like, there was so much propaganda. Like,
was followed a few years later by a similar book written by independent researcher Ralph Rene. His book was called NASA Mooned America. In particular, Rene claimed that it would have been impossible for the astronauts to safely get across the Van Allen belts, the 2 radioactive belts located around the Earth that one needs to traverse in order to reach the moon.
There is absolutely...
So, slightly incorrect, but he was right about the freaking toroidal fields, like these electromagnetic freaking fields that are containing this multidimensional reality.
No way they went to the moon with what they had. In fact, there's no way they can go today. There's no way they can go tomorrow. You don't send man where you haven't sent the monkey.
As time went by, the theories proposed by Casing and Rene began to gain traction. But it was only with the advent of the internet that the so-called moon hoax theory began to spread at a worldwide level. Since the internet, NASA has placed all the pictures taken by the astronauts online in high definition. All the films and TV recordings from the same missions have also been published through their official distributor, a company called Spacecraft Films. Thanks to all this material, any independent researcher can now personally examine all the original footage and pictures from the Luna missions. This has generated a flurry of highly researched books and documentaries that seriously question the fact that man has gone to the moon.
Lumière sur la Lune, so lights on the moon. So they're like talking about multiple angles with multiple light sources and hot spots, and so people are saying that, like, everyone would be in on it. Not everyone was in on it, even at the time.
Hollywood has also played its part in reinforcing the idea that men never went to the moon. In 1979, only 10 years after the first Luna mission, the film Capricorn 1 was released. Officially, the film told the story of a fake mission to Mars, which NASA staged in a TV studio in order to avoid the real dangers of a mission in
I'm a
space.
Capricorn.
You don't really
I
think
take
you're
offense
gonna
to
get
this.
away with this? Well, I don't know. It's a chance. Maybe it's not a very good one, but it's a chance.
But Capricorn 1 was clearly referring to the recent Luna missions, as in fact the film's slogan read, "Would you be shocked to find out that the greatest moment in our recent history may not have happened at all?" The producers didn't mince words when suggesting that
And the sine wave paths is because of circular motion above us within the sky.
NASA could have easily fooled the entire world
Circular paths. Sine waves create circular paths.
with the fake Apollo missions.
Magnets create circular paths too.
Believe, had they
So does
wanted to, that NASA could indeed have pulled off the greatest hoax of all time, never sent anyone to the moon, and recreated it in a television studio.
If they were able to make it look real with a budget of only $4 million, suggested the producers, the same could have certainly been done by NASA, which had practically unlimited funds and resources. And Capricorn 1 is not the only Hollywood film to have suggested that the lunar landings were filmed on Earth. In the James Bond movie, Diamonds Are Forever, Sean Connery accidentally finds himself running across a movie set where the lunar landings are being staged.
There he is, behind the rock. Come on!
Yeah, that's so funny. The only space NASA has ever explored is the space between people's ears. You know, facts. Yeah.
Capacities of cinematography. This, for example, is a scene from the film Magnificent Desolation, produced by IMAX in 2005.
Look how,
as one can see, the depth of the terrain in the background is quite similar to that of the Apollo missions. And yet, this is the actual set where the scene was filmed. Only the terrain in the foreground is real.
deathbed confessions. There's so much. Like I've shown these videos as well of like these videos as well of like the studios. It's irrefutable. So Matt Walsh, again, the reason why you're being ratioed over the moon landings is because you're not a good investigator, I guess, or journalist. You got to get on a VPN. I mean, no offense in saying that, and you have to take your safe search off. A lot of people don't even know it, but when they go on their searches on the search engine too, the safe search, a lot of people, the default is moderate, and you have to shut that off too. Because if you have a moderate search or if you don't have it shut off for the safe search, like you're not getting any of the information, because that is literally the reason why the search is even there to begin with, is so that you don't get this stuff. This is specifically what it's meant to censor. This $1 trillion industry.
The landscape is projected as a backdrop with the use of special effects. The only difference with the 1960s is that today the background images are superimposed to a green screen with a digital technique, while in the past, the background images were projected onto a highly reflective screen with a technique called front projection. One of the first ones to use the front projection was Stanley Kubrick in the film 2001: A Space Odyssey. This is the famous opening scene with the monkeys in the African desert. As one can see, the savanna in the background appears to be immense. And this is the studio where the scene was shot. Only the first part of the set is real, the one in the foreground. The rest is a photographic image, which is projected onto this highly reflective silk screen. Here is another example of the use of front projection from the same Stanley Kubrick film. The terrain in the foreground is real, and we are in the studio, while the image in the background is the result of a projection onto a highly reflective screen. One way to know whether the front projection was used is to verify whether there is a continuous separation line between foreground and background crossing the entire image from left to right. This is actually the line separating the real terrain in the studio from the projection screen in the background. And, curiously enough, we notice that in many of the Apollo pictures, a continuous line crossing the frame from left to right is present. This line separates the terrain in foreground from the distant hills in the background. In fact, if we take a closer look at some 360 degrees panoramas from the landing sites, we realize that the continuous line separating the foreground from the background is uninterrupted for the entire 360 degrees, in whatever direction you look.
And how did that get on there? On the spacecraft, come on.
This means that either the astronauts have landed on some kind of truncated cone separated for 360 degrees from the distant hills, or the images have been shot in the studio, and the continuous line separating the foreground from the background is just the separation line between the real set and the projected image. Furthermore, at the time of the Apollo missions, Hollywood had already developed a mobile front projection system, which could have also allowed to film moving scenes with the distant background projected on a screen. Another technique used to obtain similar results.
There was filming down there as well, Devon Island, northern Canada. And either Pierre Elliott Trudeau was duped, just like JFK, or he knew about it and he just went along with it. Either way, we should know.
Contamination.
We have a right to know.
NASA is taking steps now to preserve the steps they took decades ago on the surface of the moon. They are protecting American landing sites on the moon for historic preservation, presumably because you never know who or what will go back there. And there are a number of missions vying to go back with unmanned craft. They just wanted to clear the area off limits.
The request from NASA must have been taken very seriously, since the participants suddenly decided to forego a $4 million prize. From this 2012 article titled "Rocketeers Obey NASA Moon Rules," we can read, "The organizers of the $30 million Google Luna X Prize say their contestants will abide by NASA's appeal to stay away from the Apollo landing sites." one of the teams, Pittsburgh-based Astrobotic Technology, had planned to take a close look at Apollo 11's artifacts and footprints. But President John Thornton said the venture has shifted its primary target to the lunar North Pole. In conclusion, not only is there no actual proof that man went to the moon, but now that we had the possibility of at least checking out the landing sites from up close, NASA has chosen to impose a no-fly zone all over these areas. And all of this just to preserve some footprints that apparently no one will ever be able to see anyway. Is not mentioned once, not even in passing. It was as if the problem of radiation, with all the dangers described by Van Allen, suddenly had never existed. After Apollo 8, another 8 missions followed the same route, each crossing twice, one on the way out and one on the way back, the Van Allen radiation belts. Some debunkers maintain that the problem with the Van Allen belts was solved by plotting an exit and re-entry course that would avoid the thickest area of radiation. In this regard, the debunking website Clavius writes, the Apollo navigators plotted a course through the thinnest parts of the belts. Each mission flew a slightly different trajectory, but the orbital inclination of the translunar coast trajectory was always in the neighborhood of 30 degrees. A spacecraft following that trajectory would bypass all but the edges of the Van Allen belts. In his book, Activissimo also wrote, to get around them or to cross the less intense zone, you just need to...
So it's got like guys that look like this, that are literally destroying the world for your kids.
follow an inclined path, which was done by all the Apollo vehicles, both...
Like he ruined your mother's life. Because like lying to people and further removing them from the creator and this divine creation in general, you know, you'd have to be a special kind of fucking stupid.
On the way out and on the way back.
Not smart.
But this statement is contradicted by NASA itself. For example, in regards to the Apollo 14 mission, NASA writes, the translunar injection trajectory lay closer to the plane of the geomagnetic equator than that of previous flights, and therefore the spacecraft traveled through the heart of the trapped radiation belts. Despite this, NASA has always dismissed the radiation problem, publishing data on the doses allegedly received.
The moon does travel from east to west, and so does the sun. And there's retrogrades and stuff like that happen in the like with the wandering stars or luminaries. That's why they call them the wandering luminaries or the original planets. But yeah, and so I just wanted to talk about that as well because people are seeing the total eclipse path and they're asking questions about how it's going from west to east and its path. And so this was from Jeran. The sun and moon go east to west, but so this is just because someone asked this question. But because the eclipse is the slower moon getting taken over by the sun moves across the moon west to east, and so does the shadow. And that's just like our explanation of that as well.
By the astronauts well below the danger levels. In this regard, NASA wrote, Apollo astronaut doses were negligible in terms of any medical or biological effects that could have impaired the function of man in the space environment. In fact, according to the debunkers, a lunar mission of a few days like the Apollo missions entails a total of radiation equivalent to 1 X-ray scan, or 3 years of life on Earth.
Oh my God.
Problem solved then. Obviously, Van Allen must have been mistaken when he said that it would have been necessary to protect the astronauts through the radiation belts, even on a rapid transit through the region. At this point, though, we are left in a conundrum. If it's true that the problem was so brilliantly solved in the 60s, why are the Van Allen belts being called dangerous again, now that NASA wants to travel to the moon with the Orion project?
My name is Kelly Smith, and I work on navigation and guidance for Orion. We are headed 3,600 miles above Earth, 15 times higher from the planet than the International Space Station. As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. Radiation like this could harm the guidance systems, onboard computers, or other electronics on Orion. Naturally, we have to pass through this danger zone.
Especially since EMPs can actually like shut down like engines on cargo ships. You know, yeah. I've said like a magnet. I was playing with neodymium magnets a couple of years ago, and I accidentally, like, one got stuck to the bottom of my laptop, completely shut it down. I wasn't able to power it on or anything like that, just because of the area of the battery where it was connected to. And again, so another fucking magnet. And as soon as I moved it away, started back up again. So this guy's just a fucking liar. Annoying.
The spaceship, the one carrying the astronauts. Both engines used a special kind of fuel called hypergolic. This is a fuel that burns on simple contact between two chemical components, with no need for an actual ignition system. The debunkers claim that the reason for the missing flame is due precisely to the use of hypergolic fuel. On his website, Bad Astronomy, debunker Phil Plate writes, "There is actually a simple reason why you cannot see the flame from the lander when it took off. The fuels they used produced no visible flame." In his book, Activissimo also writes, "The product of combustion from these fuels is colorless and transparent. This is why there is no flame under the LEM when it takes off." But these statements are false. Hypergolic fuels produce a clearly visible flame, both on Earth and in the vacuum of space. This is a test from the engine of the rocket SpaceX, which uses hypergolic fuel. As one can see, the flame is clearly visible during the combustion. And this is a test of the LEM's ascent engine, exactly the one we are discussing now.
To keep it simple, it used so-called hypergolic propellants, a rocket fuel and an oxidizer that
radiating energy is magnetism.
explode on contact.
Gravitational energy, radiating energy.
The long flame from the hypergolic fuel is clearly visible under the LEM's engine during combustion.
Yin and yang.
In the original images from the Apollo missions, however, there is no visible flame. This is Apollo 15 lifting off from the moon. This is Apollo 16, and this is Apollo 17.
No, it's not.
In all cases, there is no visible flame under the engine during liftoff. Some might think that hypergolic fuel, which is clearly visible on Earth, for some reason may become invisible in the vacuum of space. But it is not so, and there are several examples to prove it. This is a Draco engine, which uses hypergolic fuel tested in a vacuum chamber. As one can see, the flame produced by the engine is clearly visible. The Space Shuttle also uses hypergolic fuel for its orientation rockets, and the emissions from the rockets are clearly visible during the maneuvers in the vacuum of space. This is another image from the shuttle maneuvering in space. The jet from the hypergolic fuel is clearly visible. This is a Soyuz spaceship, filmed as it approaches the International Space Station. The Soyuz also uses hypergolic fuels for its directional rockets, and also in this case, the jets are clearly visible despite being in the vacuum of space. In fact, they are even more visible because they are pitched against the blackness of space. All these examples show how hypergolic fuels are also clearly visible in the vacuum of space. We then ask the following question. Given that this is the LEM's ascent engine tested on Earth, why is there no visible flame under it when it takes off from the moon? Not only does the LEM engine not release any flame from the nozzle, it also seems to produce no particular noise. This is the noise produced by the LEM's ascent engine.
Some people think that there's also helium balloons and stuff like that that were also utilized in order to lift up the rockets and then just edit it out. And people seeing these from, there's obviously rockets that go without them, like especially now, like I'm not saying that, right? But at the time, those were also used.
During a ground test. Yet during the ascent from the moon, no particular noise can be heard inside the cabin.
Very smooth. Let's couple off.
Only the calm voice of the astronauts, with no engine noise in the background.
Very quiet ride. There's that one crater on there.
Some debunkers claim that the engine sound gets dispersed into the vacuum of space outside the cabin, and therefore no particular noise should be heard from the inside. But the cabin is pressurized, and the engine is located right in the middle of it, between the two astronauts. This NASA technician shows us exactly where the engine is located inside the LEM.
This is the upper docking hatch through which the astronauts will enter the LEM from the command and service module. They will step down here on the ascent engine cover. The engine we looked at before is right on the other side of this cover.
And the very website Clavius states that the ascent engine is mounted inside the spacecraft, not attached.
Can thrust exist in a vacuum? I love that question. So, so the question would be like, is there mass in space? Because you would need that even with like Newton's law and stuff like that, for the momentum, for the thrust. So what they're trying to allege is that like even within the vacuum of space, there's still like a small amount of gravity. Anyways, if we are comparing two different things from each other on Earth, they are pulled the same by gravity, and so the one with more mass weighs more. But in space, where the pull of gravity is very small, anyways, I don't believe in gravity like they're saying it, but where the pull of gravity is very small, something can have almost no weight. It still has matter in it though, so it still has mass. So do you have mass in space, in deep space, away from the gravitational field of Earth or another large body? An object will be weightless. However, it will still have mass. See, this is how they explain it away. And that's the resistance to given force. And masses are often expressed in the units kilograms, grams, or solar masses. Of course, they're going to say solar masses, but anyway. Is mass zero in space? Mass can never be zero. Weight can be zero. As in space, if no gravity acts upon an object, its weight becomes zero. Can space exist without mass? Yes or no. Experiments continue to show that there is no space that stands apart from space-time itself. No arena in which matter, energy, and gravity operate, which is not affected by matter, energy, and gravity. Anyway, it's all explaining shit away. Interesting question. So I just wanted to expand on it a little bit. What it says.
To the bottom of it. Activisimo also confirms that the astronauts inside the LEM are literally sitting on the engine.
Praticamente basta avere un cilindro di latta con un motore sotto.
And also like zero gravity. Zero gravity, think about it. With the weightlessness, this is what they explain away as well with the zero gravity planes that we have, where you can literally be like up, like not too far up, and then experience the weightlessness, which is why a lot of astronauts also go in these aircrafts, because a lot of filming is also done in these zero gravity planes that you could buy your own trip, right? This is it's a private company, whatever you want to call it, but it's open to the public, and zero gravity. Anyways, but there's still mass in that environment because gravity is bullshit.
Gli americani erano seduti letteralmente sul motore, cioè già avevano qua.
Thus, the engine, which is in direct contact with the pressurized environment of the cabin, should definitely be heard. Another explanation by the debunkers for the lack of engine noise is that the microphones used in aerospace for pilots and crew are built to operate in a noisy environment. You have to speak very close to the microphone in order for the sound to be picked up. But there is no such thing as magic microphones capable of fully excluding the background noise. If the engine noise can reach the ears of the astronaut, it will necessarily be picked up by the microphone as well. Furthermore, during the liftoff...
How do you use those photos on their Tinder profiles? Yeah, and you're such a fucking liar. Oh my God. Can you imagine having sex with them thinking they were astronauts and then you're like, ew, they were liars the whole time? I'd be so upset. That's big. Oh my God, that's super.
One thing should be clear. In itself, the loss of the original tapes of the moonwalk would not represent an irreparable damage. There are copies of the same moonwalk recently digitalized, which are even better than the lost original. The problem is that besides the moonwalk, those tapes also contain some important telemetry data, ranging from the astronaut's heartbeat to the very location of the LEM in space at the time. This means that if the LEM had not found itself on the surface of the moon at that time, or if the situation on board had been any different from what we were told, the telemetry data would have clearly revealed it. So if one chooses to, he can believe the story of the tapes that were erased because they were too expensive. For everyone else, one question becomes unavoidable. What was so important in those tapes that NASA had to come up with such a preposterous excuse just to ensure they would no longer be available to scientists and researchers from modern times? Let's now take a closer look at the telecommunications between Earth and the...
So, I mean, I'm going to keep on with the other video because Bryant Meyers deserves to be shamed publicly because he still hasn't retracted anything on his social media about the Earth or anything like that, so he's just completely avoiding it.
Now I'm in a vacuum. Is the air in...
Oh, actually, David,
question for you, an experiment. I'm in a room and I have a shoebox and I suck all the air out of the room, an open shoebox. I suck all the air out of the room from underneath. So now I'm in a vacuum. Is the air in the shoebox going to stay in the shoebox? Is gravity going to hold it in the shoebox?
Mr. 1-1. So is this directed at me, showing fake stuff to debunk fake stuff? Laughing, excellent. Do you want to go, like, do you have your own channel where you debunk and refute the shape of the Earth and the moon landings and stuff like that? I'll wait for a reply and stuff like that, but please tell me how funny my channel is to you and how much of a joke it is and how ridiculous the shape of the Earth or the moon landing is actually being faked. How ridiculous that is when I'm showing actual evidence and footage from fucking NASA. So anyway, I could be reading into this wrong, but just in case, so you can't dislike or report my videos, blocked.
Box.
Yeah, but in that situation, you got all the atmosphere pushing down on you.
No. I suck all of the air.
Are actually, because I'm at account number 9 million with YouTube, and I just finished having a strike, and so there are people that actually go on to troll my page, and they don't care about listening to anything, right? They're the same thing. Well, they're not like they're not as smart as Bryant, but just to troll. And so I would prefer not to engage or prevent them from like trying to sabotage my videos and get me more strikes. I want to block them. Show me who you are. I like it when you comment and be rude because I know exactly who I need to block. I'm not as polite as Witsit or Dave or anyone or these people. I'm a smaller channel, so I can still manage the stuff myself. And you're just gonna get blocked if you're gonna be like that, because I know what you're gonna do next. Because that's what you guys always do. Whenever there's trolls, conveniently I always get videos reported. Like even ones from like months ago. Like these, like it's just so anyway.
Air out of the room. So the room is now a vacuum. It's space. It has no air. The only difference from space is the room has a container. But that shoebox of air, according to you, the gravity should hold the air in the shoebox. Because if that doesn't work, if you say it wouldn't do that, then your entire gradient argument is off the table.
No, we're talking about a 6 sextillion ton Earth. It's a huge mass pulling. So that's a lot of mass pulling the atmosphere that's very paper thin, like you agreed on.
So it's holding the air down, but I can pull the air up and away with a straw.
No, you're not. What you're doing is you're sucking out the air, and it's the atmosphere pushing down from gravity that's pushing the water up. This is how the straws work. You're creating a partial vacuum in the straw. I used to teach this, Dave. I mean, this is
I wouldn't admit that.
What happens is, well, here's
people who.
But Dave, ask him again because I didn't understand his answer for this shoebox.
You understand that atmospheric pressure is 14 pounds, 14.7 pounds.
Yes.
Square inch.
Yeah.
We
all know that.
This is a 15-pound weight. So this amount of atmosphere, it's a huge. Try this experiment.
Mm-hmm.
Hold up a 15-pound weight. Okay. Every square inch is 15 pounds of pressure. So when you create a partial vacuum in that straw, there's 1 atmosphere or 14.7 pounds per square inch pushing the water down and up.
What about my shoebox?
I don't understand the shoebox.
So why doesn't why doesn't water come out of the straw when you just put a straw in a glass in?
Because there's no partial vacuum. The air is still there. You got to actually suck the air out to get
that's what he's saying.
Push down.
So, and I guess the shoebox is the wrong example. Let's say
it's not hard. It's not hard to understand.
Hold on. Let's say that there's a box that is slide the top off the box. Will the air then stay at the bottom of the box? because of
What are you
gravity?
trying to- I don't know what you're trying to say. Gravity.
Why don't you just listen for a second? Listen. If you're in a room,
I am listening.
okay, then answer the question.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay, it's back on.
Where's that air going to be? Is it going to stick to the earth, or is it going
How
to?
does that relate to the?
I'm asking you a question. Doesn't matter how it relates. I'm just asking you. I want to
Well,
know.
because you said that the gravity holds the air under the earth, and the air gets thinner and thinner and thinner. Okay, so we removed all of the air out of the room, so there's no pressure from the atmosphere pushing down on this box. We open up the box, gravity holds the air in there or not.
Yeah, but do we still have gravity or not? Are we
Yes.
trying to
Yeah, we have
on
gravity. On your Earth, your gravity. Yes, on your Earth.
But have you actually done that experiment to get down to a zero
Yes.
vacuum?
Yeah, people have done that. People have put a chamber inside of a vacuum chamber. It's not that hard to do it.
Okay,
Yes. But here's the thing, Bryant.
A little bit.
If the answer is the air would not come would come out of the box, and the entire pressure gradient next to a void is off the table.
No.
And here's the other thing: there's nowhere in science, nature, or anywhere that you could have high pressure next to low pressure without a container. Nowhere, anywhere.
What do you mean
Ever.
high pressure next to low pressure?
Any higher pressure next to lower pressure or no pressure in any orientation. It doesn't matter.
Listen, do you have a little app that can measure the pressure in your house, the atmospheric pressure?
I don't.
You
Wait, why would you not
download-
answer his question?
No, listen, I'm answering his question. You can literally measure the pressure at one altitude and go up and higher and see that it drops the altitude.
Okay, but he asked you what would happen to the
That is
pressure
lower
in the
pressure
box.
next to higher pressure. That is lower pressure next to higher pressure. You can measure that provably.
What would happen with the pressure in the box?
The kinetic theory of gases says that gases are going out fast. So,
Fill
but
the
when you
space,
have
yeah.
the sheer scale of the Earth and the gravity well of planet Earth, they're not going to go outside of the gravity
But-
well. They might in that room scatter around because gases do that. That's the kinetic theory of gases.
But what's
They're very
different about it?
low.
It's the same gravity.
on the surface
Yeah,
of
it's
the
the
Earth?
same
Where-
gravity is pulling.
Yeah.
I know, but you're not looking at the whole. Those gas molecules aren't going to escape out into space. They might. Gravity is actually pulling on them, but you have to look at, like, again, you have to do the calculations. You got to see, okay, here's what the kinetic theory of gases says, and gravity is going to pull down. And there's going to be some energy that may be moving them around, but gravity is still there pulling them down. But
Isn't gravity stronger at the surface though?
But there's other forces than just gravity. You guys realize that, right?
I'm
There's
just
other-
asking like a simple question. Isn't gravity strongest at the surface? Or technically at the center of mass, right? So the
Oh, right,
surface.
but it's a very slow I mean, it goes off very slowly, though. You see, so that small gradient, it's not a very fair experiment because you've got to get on a larger scale to see a big difference in the gravitational field.
Do you not see his point though? Like if we take
I
gas
see
and it's in
his
a
point, but I don't-
vacuum
it's
on the
not-
surface where the
but
gravity's the
gas is-
strongest,
but-
it
but-
goes in all directions.
I know, but
so
listen-
how would it stop it next to a vacuum where gravity's weaker?
The gravitational field of the reason that's because you see less gas up there, right? So that's the reason why there's more pressure at sea level because it does have less.
That's
and
a
less
non
gravity.
sequitur to the question though.
It isn't. This is why you're getting close to a vacuum at 100 kilometers up. It's almost a vacuum.
Yeah, you're just
I mean, so
you're
the
repeating the same
carbon
thing.
So this gradient is because of gravity. That's why, the gravitational field decreases with altitude. That's why, less and less, you get.
That's a begging the question fallacy.
Well, what are you trying to? I don't understand what you're trying to.
We're saying it. Listen. If we have gas pressure in a container on the surface and it's next to a vacuum, once we open that box, it's going to fill the vacuum violently, right? It's immediately going to seek equilibrium. Second law of
Oh, wait,
thermodynamics.
you're talking about.
Second law of thermodynamics. The gas is going to fill the vacuum because high pressure goes to low pressure, right?
Kind of like
Entropy
this railroad tank truck, how it just implodes like this.
Has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but
yeah. Why can't you just hear me out and answer?
Just listen
so
to
we can
Austin.
hear
I'm
what-
just trying to understand what
So
you're
listen
saying.
to Austin. Just listen to him. He's going to explain something. Just listen and take it in.
Yeah. So like if we have a container of gas on the surface of the earth and then we have a vacuum chamber and we open the gas next to a vacuum chamber, that gas from the container, once we open the lid, it's going to fill the vacuum violently, right? It's going to immediately seek equilibrium and fill that vacuum, fill the available space. And that's on the surface where gravity is the strongest.
I know, but the gravitational field is still acting on all those particles, but there's other things going on. Again, the gases they have a lot of motion and energy. So
That's what we're saying. Yeah.
Actually, I know the reason because at the surface of the Earth, the temperature actually makes gases move faster. So that's the problem. When you have something like a gas, you've got a higher temperature. That's where they're going to move around. So gravity's still pulling on them, but there's other factors at play there besides just gravity.
Vacuum chambers are actually not very warm, bro. So even on the surface level, when we have a vacuum chamber where it's not warm,
Well,
the
again,
gas is still
but
going to
that
immediately fill the
experiment-
The point is that it's filling the vacuum, and if
That's
it's at
one
the,
isolated experiment. If you want to send me the experiment, fine.
you can do it a million times, man. You not see the intrinsic contradictory nature of what you're
Did
saying.
you see the contradictoriness of
You're
what you're
using
saying?
one little isolated thing.
It's not an isolated thing. We're trying to explain to you that gravity isn't
not the
sufficient to
Earth.
hold down gas when it's adjacent to a vacuum.
Gases have kinetic energy and they're moving around.
That's what we're saying.
What we're saying.
I know, right? But I'm saying when you've got a large scale of a huge 6 sextillion ton Earth, that creates this gradient of different pressures. So yes, you've got a lot of movement going on at every. Nobody doubts we have storm systems. I mean, we've got all kinds of stuff going on. But as a whole, the gravity is keeping everything.
But it's
on
not.
Earth.
It doesn't keep it down on the surface where it's the strongest. And the strongest vacuum we can replicate is like 10 to the -6 torr, right? They claim space is 10 to the -17 torr. So that's where gravity is the weakest. It's close. It's next to a much different pressure differential.
But vacuums aren't sucking things out. I mean,
No one said that. Gas fills the space. Vacuums
I know,
don't
but
suck.
it's-
That's another
it's the
non
the
sequitur, though.
gravitational field is what's keeping everything in place. That's why.
So why doesn't it keep that air in that box in place?
Okay, so well, again, I haven't done that experiment.
Okay, but you don't even need to do the experiment. Just think about it and let's pretend.
Yeah, use your mind and
Yeah, let's
come up with
pretend.
a
I'm using my
solution.
mind,
So-
but you're using a little tiny room.
Okay, no, hold on.
Instead of like entire huge, a huge. I mean,
So you're saying that the little tiny room gas or the little tiny room vacuum is stronger than the vacuum of
I'm
space?
saying that gravity is pulling down on those gas molecules, but they also have a kinetic energy, and there's a lot going on there that you're just. There's not.
So why doesn't the kinetic energy of our atmosphere go off into fill the void of
It
space?
actually does. We lose atmosphere every.
And who told you that? And where? How did you measure this? This
I've
is
actually-
just
I've
a
actually-
theory. This is just
No,
a theory.
I've actually heard Dave Murphy saying this. Is it some kind of like you're losing atmosphere? I'm like, yeah, you're right, Dave. We are. We got.
So you heard someone named Dave Murphy say it.
In years, based on this calculation of atmosphere still left.
A theory.
No, it's
But
a
yeah,
theory.
so
No, we
Not
can-
even a theory,
no.
anecdotal evidence.
One of your own flat Earth people has brought this up in a debate.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
You're appealing to, they're talking about
No,
how
I'm
your
saying-
model has a
No,
theory.
I'm saying that we do lose atmosphere every day, and it's actually a lot, but it's compared to how much atmosphere there is, it's a small amount.
That's what we're saying. That doesn't make sense. That's not how the second law works.
Like the gases that make up this atmos, like we are dealing with changes based on CERN, HARP, all of that stuff, those technologies, and the top 10 companies in the world, corporations in the world, part of the military pharmaceutical industrial complex that are destroying the world, the ones that own the mines, the mining companies and stuff like that, the real estate destruction companies, these ones are the ones that are destroying the world and have for generations.
I know, but it's
Why does some escape and not all?
it's because again,
We need to plant more trees and all that stuff to get the most optimized atmosphere, what are you going to call it, atmos, that we can have.
it's a little gravity's holding it. It's a statistical thing. You got a little bit of gas at the
statistical?
fringes.
Statistical. Is it like rolling? Got gravity's out here shooting dice, bro?
No,
Like,
it's,
that's not-
you just have because
And they
there's a
lie
lot
about
less
flat earthers. There's all these claims. Flat earthers say this. Flat earthers say that. Professor Dave, these people, it's like, and the videos that they show, like, I'm like, no flat earther says that. None. Or not many.
up there. There's not that much that's going to come out, but yeah, because the pressures are so low, there is going to be some of this that will escape.
We'll go away from pressure systems.
Earth sunset and my kitchen sunset. That's exactly the same on
That's
the water.
a homemade experiment. Doesn't prove anything. But
Science experiment doesn't prove anything, but your memes that you found on Google does.
no, these memes are based on science that has peer-reviewed studies where you have independent labs.
These memes are based on science. Oh my
validating
God.
the stuff you guys are.
So what kind of science have you done, Bryant, with boats over the horizon? Can we see what you have done? Because we've done freaking tons of stuff. Can I see what you have done?
When you say science, it's nothing but
No.
just sheer
A
images.
science experiment, I said. Have you done one with boats over the horizon? And if you have, which it sounds like you have many, I mean, you're bringing it up. Can we see it?
Dave, can I show the
It's
Legos?
been a few hours.
Yeah, you have it.
Googling.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay.
I mean,
Let's
unless
just move on then. No, it's okay. Let's
all
just
the
move on then.
videos I see are lies.
Click on
but
Let's
I
move
can't
on.
imagine that they're making up all these boats over the horizon.
Jaren's going to show. Hold on.
Well, give
Give
me
us
1
a
second. It's
moment.
going to take a second
Let
for me
them-
to get it.
Oh, but he's pulling it up. But again, when we look at large boats, when they disappear, some of the times, when they disappear, they don't always disappear like that. It's because there's waves in the foreground, and those waves, just like those waves.
Here's my biggest problem.
Will block an entire city skyline. See, these are big waves out here, right? And this boat is going to disappear behind them, right? There's all sorts of optical effects going out here, and it's never the same. It changes every day.
Yeah, I live in California, so I go out to the beach sometimes, Brian.
I'm sorry, guys. That's the curve you're seeing.
Well,
right
I'm sorry that's not because I've been out there, and here's the problem I have with it. Because you know what? Eventually, the boat does appear to go over an edge. Eventually, it looks like that. I've been out to the beach and looked at it. Right. But the problem I have is why do they continue telling people that the reason they knew the Earth was curved is because they saw boats go out and go over the edge? Because that is not true. Because when I go out to the beach with my plain eyes, I see boats disappear, and I can always bring them back with a zoom-in camera. Now, eventually, you're right. Yes, but listen, eventually the boat go. What do you mean? You don't think with your eyes, you think you can see a boat go over the curve?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying you can't always bring these boats that are well over.
Right, because
no, you're not listening to what I said. You're not listening to what I said.
Jared, finish.
It's not what I
Jared,
said.
finish what he's saying, bro.
I said.
Edge doesn't make sense.
I said that with my eyes.
Let him finish.
With my eyes, I always see the boat look like it disappears. Then I pull out the camera and I can pull it back. So if that's true, then there's no way that Aristotle or Ptolemy or any of these guys saw boats go over the edge and then knew that the Earth was curved, because that's impossible. They couldn't have seen boats go over.
Well, but there were some pretty big boats, though, right? I mean,
Bryant, this is the wavefront edge right here. I don't have the video. I wish I did. But the entire deck of where these fishermen are, you can't even see it because it's behind this wavefront edge. When I zoom out, hold on. When I zoom out, all of this water beyond the boat becomes unseeable, and the boat is missing from half down, and it's behind the wavefront edge. Now, we know this isn't curvature because we can see water back here.
Exactly.
Okay? This is the wave. Hold on. This is the wavefront edge right here. Zoom out. This is going to look like a horizon right here. This boat's going to look like it's behind it. Hold on. Hold on. If that boat was out here, way out here, it would be totally gone, right? You wouldn't be able to see it. And big boats, the same thing. A big boat in the distance will get as small as a small boat closer. It doesn't matter. And the farther out you go, the worse it gets, because that wavefront edge doesn't keep moving away from you. It stays close.
Do you have a paper that goes over wavefront edges?
You have to have a
that I
paper,
can
Dave.
read?
You have to have paper.
No, just anything. I mean, this does nothing to back it up.
No, we don't.
The government doesn't back it.
We don't.
Exactly.
No, I just want to see something.
We don't write papers. We go out and make observations.
Brian, do you understand?
Just because it's a small.
Dave's like, we're not nerds.
Doesn't mean that
We have to skip
Dave, which one do you want me to show?
Brian,
This one?
you'd rather see a paper.
Anyone you
Brian?
want, Jeran.
This one.
You'd
I'll
rather
press
see a
play.
paper, Brian, than an actual experiment
Yeah,
done, or go.
you'd rather like sit in your office, look at a Professor Day video, than like go out like on the Gaspé Coast, for example, and spend a few hours with your friggin' dogs or your family, and then just do some friggin' easy basic experiments that will literally destroy the globe Earth model calculations, like the Earth curve model, whatever you want to call it, the 8 inches per mile squared, repeatedly debunked, and you're gonna have fun doing it and get some sun.
Do it yourself. You'd rather see a paper.
How your proof that a wavefront edge
Here,
can include a
watch
huge
this.
boat.
Watch this.
There's no-
Watch this.
Wait, I don't see that. I don't. You're not sharing, Jeran.
Yeah, I am. It's on the screen.
Is it? Oh, okay. Yeah. There you go. It's not. I might.
So it's just showing you that all these bricks are falling behind this blue brick here.
You break.
What?
You were breaking up for a second.
Oh. Those are all very level, but just because the way you look,
it can be a mile away.
You can see this blue block covers all the white bottom pieces
I
of
can't
the.
really see it. I mean, but send me
I
the
mean-
video. I'll look at it.
All
Can you make it
I'm
bigger?
not sure that's the case, but
Well, just I'll look at it. Just send it to me. I'll take a look at it.
okay. And then here's another one.
There you go.
There you go.
I've seen some of these videos. Yeah.
So there's your wavefront edge. Those blue bricks are, and they're covering up 5 or 6 layers of higher
I know, but
levels.
But the camera is
No, that you can still see the table. You can still see the table. I'm above the table.
I
You know that sometimes the actual lenses, when you put a bigger zoom,
But my eye sees it. My eye sees it the same way. My point is those blue, the blue line there, that's the wavefront edge right there. I can't see any of the counter beyond it because the wave is blocking it. And then as those Legos get smaller into the distance, they disappear behind the blue Lego wavefront edge.
Days where the water is calm, Dave, and when the water is calm, there's no wavefront edge to block you both.
You're right, and you can see them much farther. However, there's the non. What is it? What does Karen call it? The non. There's the thickest part of the atmosphere, the thickest moist, is right above the water, and it becomes opaque. It'll mirage the boat out.
Opacity. Depending on pressure and temperature.
The non-uniform.
Yeah, but always it would be the
transition
case,
zone,
right?
something
It
like
always happen.
You can get but the effects can vary wildly.
Sure,
on,
but it always happens.
You understand? We're saying that the horizon is just an apparent horizon that fluctuates based on atmos, but the globe claims it's a physical place. But we know it's not a physical place. Just there's water, and you can't see forever, and it changes drastically throughout the day. That's our position.
I forgot to put the slide in. It's not it's nobody says it's a physical place. The horizon is just where the eye.
Nobody says it's a physical.
So, are you saying on a ball there's not a physical horizon?
Dave was right on it.
Based on a circle around a sphere around you, and you looking at a certain point that sphere cuts off the rest of the globe. So you see.
Brian, do you know where the word horizon comes from, Brian?
Appears to be a horizon.
Do you know what the word?
Brian, you'll have to share again. If you want to share again, I think it took you off.
Brian, look here. This is Skunk Bay. This is Skunk Bay, right? And a Glober would say, okay, well, those houses are hidden. But then as we move throughout the day, we can see the beach. The buildings disappear. This is all just apparent horizon. Okay. Yeah. This is just showing you how it looks different all the time.
Yeah, but there's a lot of mirage going on there. I see all kinds of.
Yeah, there's a lot of things.
And there would always be mirage. There would always be mirage.
That's our point.
In the distance.
The thing, nobody. I don't think any scientist would say the horizon's a physical thing.
You're claiming that the Earth is blocking.
You just said the Earth is blocking buildings.
You're saying
is blocking buildings.
But the big boats are going over the curve. That's a physical horizon.
What's blocking it?
But again, it's where your eyes are. If you're higher up, then yes. If you're this is why you.
In order to create the shape of the ball, there needs to be a downward slope.
6 feet, then your eye level is going to be different than if you're up 100 feet. So yes, but the curve that is kind of where things disappear over the tangent of that point on the sphere. You can't see beyond that.
We can't. Well, show them Canada. Show them all the places we can see.
But that tangent will, it will vary as you go up in elevation or down.
What about like
it varies at the same height?
Brian, there's this mountain, Mount Canigou, that is 175 miles away, and from 1,000 feet up, you can see it when it should be about a mile below the curve. Is that
what's his name? Who was in the beyond the?
Here it is, right here. It's right here. It's right here. As the sun moves away, appears to go down, all of a sudden it backlights the mountain and you can see it. And it's not a mirage, right? Your only excuse is that the mountain and the sun are already over a physical curve and they're refracting up perfectly to stop at eye level.
Wait, this is going below the horizon. I'm not sure.
So that mountain right there is called Mount Canigou. It's 9,000 feet high, but from 1,000 feet, if you use your curve calculator, you'll see it should be 16,000 feet or something below.
The top of this mountain should be over half a mile below the curve, but it's not. It's right there. But people on a normal day will look out and go, look, you can't see it because it's below the horizon. Now you would claim this is your physical horizon, but the light that's bouncing off of Mount Canigou doesn't have the power to push back all the way to your eyes because the atmosphere blocks it. However, the sun is much brighter than the reflected light coming off the mountain. And as the sun moves beyond it, it does have the power to push back 175 miles. And all of a sudden you can see the mountain. Now, there's two answers for what this means. It means the Earth is flat or the Earth is 1,000 times bigger than they're telling us.
Yeah, but is that what's his name? Media. What's the guy that did
Jay Tolan Media?
Jay Tolan Media. Yeah, he's been informed soundly by the science guy. I mean, I watched some.
No, he hasn't. No,
you
he
say the
hasn't.
science guys, you mean like Fight the Tight Shirt
no,
and
Bob
Simon
the Sci-
Dan.
Bob
You
the
don't
Science
mean-
Oh, Bob the science guy.
Bob the science guy, the pedophile or whatever.
Well, whatever. I mean, I've read through it, and it's very convincing. That
Allegedly.
these are not-
Allegedly, yes.
Well,
allegedly.
Yeah, but
You're legally
Bryant,
protected.
here's the problem
One
with
was
like peer
trying to
review.
seem out-
You're
Yeah, but
explaining the
those-
problem with peer review. Peer review is a problem because you're saying anything that comes from Bob the science guy, oh, it's so soundly put
Well, no,
together.
but
Hold on, but
you're
this
saying the same thing. You're saying one person doing this is a proof. It's
No.
not.
no,
we're saying you can
thousands
do
of
it.
people have seen this observation. It happens twice a year.
Okay, but if I use a metabunk curvature calculator, I'm positive I could find the reason why.
Let's
that
do it.
it's
Let's
at
do
where
it.
it's at.
Do it
Let's
then.
Let's do it right now.
Let's do it right
I
now.
don't
Do it right now. Let's do it right now.
Let's
I don't
go.
want to do it now because you guys.
Oh, come on.
You just said you'd be able to figure it out.
Listen, I'm not there, so again, they've debunked that Jtola Media guy because he doesn't report.
Oh
the
yeah,
numbers
because
accurately.
you
No
know
one
you're right
has
because
ever
you don't
debunked him,
have
and
the
no one
right
ever will.
numbers.
because as soon as we started to see too
If
far,
you're
they
fudging-
added
if you're
refraction.
fudging I know, but if you're fudging the numbers like he's been
Nobody's
showing
fudging
you,
the numbers.
What?
You're gonna get different.
I always err to the side of the
I read
globe.
a whole
Always.
scrolling page on Jtola Media how he basically misrepresents.
Well, of course they're
numbers.
going to say that. Otherwise, Bob
Where
the
did you
science
get that
guy's
from?
out of a
Professor
job.
Dave or
And he's-
Fly
it's
Up
not-
Man
it's
Dan?
not neither of them. I mean, it's a long page.
Fight the fat shirt.
It's definitely like Bob the science guy or Wolfie or
well,
whatever their names
Well,
are.
yeah, but they do very careful and like
No, they
They
do
do
very
not. They're
careful.
known liars. They
They're-
will down on
Walter
They run
anything.
very careful psychological
and-
operations.
And they all hold the same thing. They all believe
I've
all
caught
of the
you
same
guys-
nonsense.
I've caught you guys in so many lies too.
Bro,
What lies? Name one.
Name one lie.
Name one lie.
You can't say that without naming one.
I'm not saying you specifically.
You just said
Okay.
you guys. I've caught you guys.
I'm saying flat
I-
Earth community.
Okay, well I can't.
We
explain-
don't know
thanks.
the whole
Oh,
flat
wow.
Earth community, you know. So you're
I'll
talking.
put an end to that right now, guys. Flat Earth, knock it off. Stop lying. All right there.
You
Okay?
stop lying.
I put an
I'm
end to
talking
it.
We don't lie.
I'm talking about these images right here. I'm showing on the screen.
What images?
You have to share your screen.
You have to share your screen again.
I'm gonna get Dave off here. He's scaring me.
I'd scare myself.
Don't look at me.
Mount Canigoo scary.
Mount Canigoo is scary.
That's the specular reflection impossible on a globe, by the way.
Okay. Well, no, actually, that's just basically a reflection on a shiny surface.
Yeah.
If you got a
Yeah,
shiny
it can't be
surface, it'll
convex or
look-
concave. You can't get a specular reflection that way.
I know, but you will agree that this I
Hey,
can
the
see
reflection,
the original
you need a flat
footage from this
surface.
video, and then the thing is bobbing up and down.
I was talking about your wallpaper.
What?
Your wallpaper debunks the globe. You can't have specular reflections on a body of water with any convexity or concavity. It has to be flat. So
Oh, the specular reflection. I did a whole video on that. That's actually you can disprove
I
that. with
wouldn't
a
admit
little-
that either.
It's because you got to not use a shiny surface. If you got like a rough piece of aluminum foil over a basketball, you can see the shine. The light comes all the way to your eyes.
Cool.
Where if you have just a shiny surface, then you get a
That's
what
not
looks like a
the
hot
reflection that he's
spot.
talking about.
no. I'm saying on your wallpaper. Okay, like if you have a body of water and you have mountains and you can see the mountains in the water with a perfect specular reflection, that's impossible if the water is concave or convex at all. Like it has to be flat.
I don't think that's anything.
Okay, well,
that's a fact, but it's all right.
It's
Just
a fact.
you
Go
don't
check it out.
understand it.
Go,
You don't
go get a
understand.
reflective piece of plastic or
I've
a
done-
mirror thing and bend it a little bit, and it changes. It doesn't. It doesn't.
Do the same.
You haven't done this because then you would agree with us.
No,
Brian.
I've seen.
What are you talking about?
So he said he's done videos or something like that, or like wrote probably alleged to write books. I'm just going to show you something on specular reflection here, if I can find it. Angle of incident output angle. Because the wavelengths of visible light are rather small, pure specular reflection requires a high degree of surface flatness. Okay. It's just like a basic Google search for that, just to give you some perspective.
You
I'm
haven't done
talking
that.
about that it's not it's not a flat surface. If you get that same experiment with like a basketball and put like aluminum foil that's got ripples in it, like the water, you will see the light come all the way to your eyes. It doesn't just stop at a
do
spot.
you want to bet money
you
right
show that?
now that you
Can
can,
you show
get
that?
a
I'll show you.
specular reflection on a curved body of water?
Hold on, let me just bring up my video. I can see.
Please.
He's not talking about specular
I think we need
reflection.
to remember
here.
though, we are standing on the shoulders of giants like Bob the science guy and McToon.
Oh,
It's not
touche.
Bob the Science. I'm just saying, debunking some of those. I've gone through them, and it's pretty clear that like one
They-
Mount Shasta.
That's
was said to be
crazy. That's
seen-
the CIA is
Yeah,
crushing,
it wasn't
bro. The
even.
CIA
It
has
wasn't
really
even
got.
seen. It wasn't even shown to be not even Mount Shasta. You guys are saying.
Yeah, I hope these
Aren't
people
these
get
aren't these
paid.
same guys pushing another agenda? Just saying.
Yeah, for sure. And so Dave's quick with it. You see Dave's picture, right? You understand what we're talking about? I was just letting you know that you know you might want to change your wallpaper. It debunks the globe. I was just trying to help you out.
You need a flat surface, specular reflection, in order to project the mountain chain and stuff like that within the lake. It needs to be a flat surface. He's talking about ripples and waves and stuff like that. He's talking about different things. He's talking about different reflections of light on different surfaces, like whatever. That's not specular reflection.
All right, bro.
And he's done videos on this or something like that
You
too.
see how pretty that
I wouldn't-
picture
I
is
wouldn't
Dave
admit
has?
that.
That's a perfect specular reflection, man. That water can't be bending, or you wouldn't get that perfect reflection like that mirror effect. That's
So I mean, are you talking about like this here?
He's showing debunking flat Earth. Like this is what. Oh my god.
Hold on.
Hello, this is Bryant Meyers.
Your channel
Well, that's
name is
not a-
Debunking Flat Earth.
No. I'm talking about is this what you mean by just being seen like on one spot here versus
Jeran's like, what the fuck?
well, that is a local reflection, which is interesting, but just a specular reflection of a reflective mirrored image. So that's not quite what that is. But yeah, I mean, even the local reflection is interesting. I don't see.
So what is your answer on the picture on the right there?
Yeah, how's that work?
I'm just saying you can get like a little ball and put like the. I mean, the point is that water's not perfect. You see that it comes through like this.
What? Well, the point is that it wouldn't be a local reflection like that if it was 93 million miles away.
It's just light. It doesn't matter how far. Light is light coming in at that angle.
It would be a
And-
90 degrees
and it will
spread
be-
across
the
the whole
reflection-
sky.
Yeah.
No, it's coming in from your. This is your angle of vision. You're looking right
Oh.
at it and not come all the way to your eyes because the water surface is not. It's got some texture.
Specular reflections, and that's
Yeah.
interesting in my opinion. I think that's a local reflection, which is impossible if the sun's 93 million miles away. That's a different thing. Specular reflection's a mirrored reflection. And I was just not even trying to debate you about it. I was just letting you know your wallpaper debunked the globe. So I don't know what you were about to bring up. but we-
I don't see that at all. But
All right, well. Oh well. Specular reflection. Well, dude, you can come hang out with us though, man. Flat Earth is way cooler, bro.
Yeah.
It'll
We-
take.
you know.
We don't expect you to change your teams tonight. It'll take you a month or two, and then you'll have
No,
a
it
couple
is
of
not
restless.
gonna- yeah, I mean-
No, never, because I know because
Again,
it would
well,
call into.
Well, listen, electrostatic theory. I know electrostatics very well. I know electrodynamics very well, and it doesn't work to describe 9.8 meters per second squared. It
So
absolutely
you've
can't.
spent literally zero time on it, and you say it doesn't work.
Oh, I'm saying that you can provably show the electric field falls off a lot faster than 9.8 should be falling off.
So you're not understanding it yet, but maybe we can
Well,
talk
what do
again
you mean
later.
I'm
We
not
don't wanna-
understanding?
It's not
Show
what
me-
we're not saying. It
show me
pulls
a
things through the
model
earth.
that-
We're not saying
that
it
can
pulls
predict
anything to the
anything.
earth.
Show me.
Yeah,
a
we're not
model.
saying it pulls things.
You know
down
why
to
you
the
want a
earth
model
from-
so bad, Bryant? The
No,
reason you want a
no,
model
I
so
wanna
bad is
see
because
it.
you were handed one as a little kid and you hold on to it. Where's your model?
No, something that can make.
Why
a
do you need a
prediction.
model? We're giving you facts and science here
Not
and
giving you
experiments.
any
You're like,
science,
where's
no.
your model?
Jaron, read the Brian.
Science makes predictions.
Jaron, read the George Ellis quote.
You've got nothing that makes a prediction anywhere.
George Ellis or
yeah,
Hubble?
we do.
Prediction. Only NASA could do that.
You mean the one that says
We're going to see Canada
Can't predict
255
anything.
miles away if there is
I don't think that you can make actual predictions for science. I think you can just
That's
make
what he
stuff
sounds like.
up and it be.
No one's making anything
we're
up.
not saying that.
Observations and common
Look,
sense.
here's what we thought. We thought that when
Electrostatics is made
Scientific
up.
method.
don't you understand? But hold on, Brian.
Hold on, let you.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Electrostatics is apparently made up.
Brian,
They
you
haven't
just said
made us put
earlier.
it together.
Brian, you said earlier that planes go faster one direction than the other. Why is that? Why is it? Why do they go faster one direction than the other?
That was based on wind currents. You know.
Okay,
the
so
Earth
hold on.
does
That's
have-
what he's saying. That the wind currents that blow to the east.
Listen, I know that there's low. I'm not talking about local weather. I'm talking about the global atmosphere as a whole.
Okay, but there's winds
Oh.
inside the global atmosphere that are moving
know that, but the
faster than the
whole-
Earth spins.
Right here. Here it is. These are these white and pink ones. I think are
200,
150, 200 miles an hour, and they're outrunning the spin of the Earth. They're going east. Can you see?
It doesn't, yeah, but where do those forces come from? You guys don't.
What do you
even
mean?
have
Where do
a
the forces come from?
model.
It doesn't matter.
We need a model.
Now
We need
you're
a
just
model.
shifting over to a
We need a
That's
model.
a flat Earth though model.
Where's your model?
No, that's. I thought you said there is no flat Earth model.
You're right. This is a flat Earth model, but on the globe, they're heading east, right?
Yes.
It's the same thing. They're heading east. They're outrunning the spin of the Earth. You have no explanation for that.
We're just showing you a real version.
Yeah, we're showing you reality where it actually
reality. Going in perfect circles.
Okay, hold on. I just want to say you said that we spin very. You said we spin very slowly.
Okay, let's go over this because.
Okay, so just show you, since the United Nations is now more finally in the news for a lot of the human trafficking and drug trafficking and stuff like that, and all that stuff that's been going on for a very long time. Even with what's going on with the illegal immigration surges and stuff like that within North America, literally by these people, funded, organized, staged, and planned by them, people within this organization. Not everyone is a bad person in the UN, but he's looking for a model. This is the UN model. When you look down, this is a friggin' flat Earth map. So Australia, South America, like, come on, guys. So here you go. The United Nations. Why is this there? There's other maps as well, the flat Earth maps, and countless other, even government organizations. That's called Denver, Colorado Airport, which I've been in twice, doing primitive survival training with Matt Wright and Brooke in the mountains of Colorado. They are awesome people. They are such great, amazing human beings. Where is this? There we go.
I just want to show you. This is what 1,000 miles is going to. I mean, 1,000 miles per hour looks like.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Hold on. Okay, so just saying that it spins slowly. This is 50 miles per hour, and then I'm going to multiply it by. Okay, hold on. Here's 1,000 mile per hour edge velocity. Tell me how the atmosphere. Wait till it gets to 1,000, and tell me how the atmosphere is sticking to the Earth like this. Ready? It's about to. Hold on. You're not even listening. When it goes 1,000 miles per hour, you're saying.
I know this.
You know what?
You've never seen this.
I know everything. I know everything. I know everything. I know everything.
Okay, I guess so. So here we go.
Yeah,
Now, this is 1,000 miles
It's
per
all right,
hour.
man. Just chill,
look at,
bro. We're
look
gonna
at,
be your friend.
Brian,
Like,
look
you
at.
can hang out with us.
Look
We
at
can
that.
take it,
That's
bro.
the edge velocity.
I understand. Okay, but let me just talk about why those speeds are not what you guys think they are.
What do you mean? 1,000 miles per hour is 1,000 miles per hour. That's the edge velocity.
No, it's not. Rotation is measured in radians per second.
Of course it is. But you can. But can you not figure out the edge velocity?
Let me ask you this: is your engine measured in miles per? No, it's RPMs. That's revolutions per minute.
Okay, so we can do. You can. So
let's just go through this. So Dave loves to pull this helical model of the universe or of the solar system up. But
yeah,
do
it's
you
a
know,
joke.
Dave, that this is 1,000,000 times faster than the real thing?
Is he literally showing that as his? Oh my god!
It's a visualization to show the different vectors.
That's what happens.
It's misleading though because it's going way too fast.
Doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter.
It actually doesn't matter a lot.
Well, it's misleading because it's actually not going 1,000 miles per hour. It's only a little tiny representation. So the actual thing is way worse.
Let's just go through. So first of all,
you know, and when you point this out, though, when you point this out, it actually disproves
that
it.
the Earth doesn't. You guys love to say the Earth spins at 1,040 miles.
Because it does.
No.
We don't love to say that. That's what they taught us.
No, it doesn't. It spins at 0.006.
What is the circumference of the Earth?
What's the difference in that and 1,037 miles per hour at the equator?
It's because it has to do with forces. You know, inertial.
It sounds smarter.
It doesn't.
Yeah,
sound
exactly.
smart.
It makes it sound less significant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brian, if you were on a
That's what
merry
they're talking about, arc angles and all this shit. You know.
round, that's 20. That's the size of the Earth, the width, the equator.
But
And
already
you're sitting at the
calculated.
outside horse. It's going 1,000 miles an hour, and it's going off of your trajectory at a mile a minute, okay, or more.
It's not the same thing.
It's the exact same thing.
It is
How
not
fast is that? A
exactly-
train, Bryant? How fast is that train going?
This train is going 200 or 300 kilometers an hour.
And what would happen if it slowed down or sped up or turned?
Then
And what
it's
if you
gonna-
took the roof off of it?
Then you're actually getting an acceleration. See, I'm talking about
Brian, but this isn't a curved trajectory.
But the
that you're-
Earth is spinning.
What are you
It's
talking?
not.
What
It's
are you-
never going in a straight line.
What kind of science experiment is this, bro? This is not replication of anything.
No, listen, I've done the
are you
math
doing?
on the actual forces. Okay, so when you actually, so the Earth is rotating twice as slow as the hour hand on your clock. Okay, it's a very slow rotation.
No.
Yes, it is.
Oh my god!
We just.
Oh my god! He's so. Oh my god! It's 1,000 miles. Oh my god! 1,000 miles per hour average. Oh my god! Oh my
that
god!
you had a constant speed on a straight path. That's not synonymous with moving in a circle. That's acceleration.
In a curved trajectory. Where's the
velocity?
Where's
It's
the curved
rim
trajectory
velocity.
with the train?
Tangential speed. Okay.
Listen, you're bringing up all the points from these known liars. Right? This whole thing. Weiss is speed. Listen.
Talk about
listen. Hold on. Let me say one thing.
He's got all of his globe and flat earth shit all on YouTube, and he's telling you, and he's making fun of flirts. Yeah, okay.
Then you can go on. I'm gonna say one thing. It's angular velocity. And here's a simple experiment you can do if you want to do an experiment. Go outside. I'm going to tell you it's angular velocity.
He doesn't like experiments. He likes memes.
Here's an experiment, and I encourage everyone to do it. Get a string, tie it onto a weight, right? And start spinning it around. Start spinning around and let out line and get it to the point where it's maybe 20 feet of line out there. And you'll see that it'll be pulling out. It won't touch the ground. And you just spin around and you'll be going around at a good pace. And then get another string that's only a foot long and hold it right with your hand. That string, that one will barely go out. Right? It's going around at the same angular speed, right? But its rim velocity is so slow that it doesn't even swing out. The other one is pulling my arms as I spin around. Okay, but the one right here that's hanging, it just hangs. It doesn't even. It barely swings out. That's rim velocity.
Let me just explain to you. But we don't feel velocity, Dave. We feel force. Let me just explain this to you. So, we actually have a very slow angle. This is our angular velocity. This is angular velocity, not this, guys. This is angular velocity. Angular velocity is radians per second, not miles per hour. So when you actually calculate the actual centrifugal force, you end up with 0.03 centrifugal acceleration. And this is a very small force.
But Brian, you're just reciting numbers and beliefs. Go outside and spin.
Brian,
let me finish. Spin a rock on a string. The farther out it goes, the harder it pulls at the same rate. Okay, the farther out it goes. And so why should I believe that if I double the distance, it's making a huge circle now? Why would it pull less? It pulls more and more and more and more.
Right.
You can calculate all you want, but you can in real life, the farther out it goes, the faster its rim speed is, and the more power it has.
On a rotating system, but I'm telling you.
Well, you're living on a rotating system, and it's a curved trajectory.
You're going by the tangential speed, Dave.
Yeah.
The tangential speed, we don't feel.
You accelerate.
Yes, we do. Curving is acceleration.
No, and I'm showing you the actual forces of acceleration.
Okay, let me ask you though, the equations that you're using. Hold on, centripetal and centrifugal. Can you tell me the equations for each one?
Yeah, it's omega squared r. So
they're but what about the other one? But what about the other one?
What do you mean, what other one?
I said centripetal and centrifugal. What is the equation for each?
Well, they're just in opposite directions.
Oh, so the equations are equal. They're the same equation.
Equal and opposite.
He has no idea.
Do you have proof the Earth is spinning? Can I get some proof?
That seems weird that the two equations are the same. So the equation for being thrown out from a circle and throwing in from a circle are both the same?
It's just like outward force.
No, the angular velocity is this angular speed that a rotating body is going, and it's measured in radians per second, not miles per hour. The tangential.
Okay,
speed,
so let's drop miles per hour.
My example is that like degrees and time is the same thing. You've got amplitude and degrees are time. So 15 degrees, which the sun travels every hour on average in the sky, it's that's what it is. 15 degrees is equal to approximately 1,000 fucking miles per hour. Okay, and then that's why there's approximately 24,901 miles within the circumference of the fucking circle that it travels. The circular path that it takes that creates a sine wave when you map it out with the amplitude and the fucking time or degrees. And he doesn't understand this.
Constant speed. That's why.
But wait, hold on a second. You're going in a straight line at 1,000 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour. It doesn't make a difference. You're not going to feel it. Your quarter will balance. Your water will sit. Hang on. But if you take the slightest turn, now the Earth is curving. At no point are you going in a straight line. You are curving. That is acceleration. Okay?
You want to see how fast the Earth is rotating?
No. I know how fast it's going. 1,024 miles per hour.
I'm not. Hold on. 0.0694 RPMs, Dave. That's how angular speed is measured.
It's again. Get the rope with the rock on it, and you feel it.
We don't feel the tangential speed. We feel the acceleration.
How about this? I disagree to disagree with you.
Yeah, and also you always feel acceleration. Any rotation is always accelerating, and we have an elliptical orbit. We feel the big a bit. But dude, here's the question. Fine, here's the question.
What if we're in a plane?
I'm gonna ask you that because I know for a fact everything you're about to bring up is not going to prove the Earth is spinning.
Okay. Well, what about this then?
So you want to skip your whole first page? You agree? You got
because you already got your arguments for the ring laser gyroscope because Bob has brought up so many.
No. But hey, I want to tell you something. Let me tell you something. So according to Einstein in relativity, okay, if the sky was moving around the Earth, you would experience centrifugal and Coriolis effects with the Earth as the rest absolute frame of reference because of a thing called the Machian principle. And Einstein himself integrated this into relativity for the Arthur Eddington experiment where they saw the eclipse with the star behind it. And he wrote a letter to him explaining that would be the case. So according to relativity, which is your current theory for gravity, you just talked about how it was so awesome earlier, remember? Yeah. None of that stuff you just showed on your page would prove that the Earth is spinning. According to relativity, it could be that the sky is moving around the Earth. No, it is true. I have no letter right here.
Let's go through which one of them it is. So let's see. There's Aries theorem.
Aries failure, which showed that the Earth is stationary.
So which
showed that the Earth is stationary. Sagnac effect shows that the Earth is stationary.
It's called Aries failure for a reason.
Yeah, it's a failure on the science's point to prove what they wanted to prove. That's why it's a failure. Not.
Yeah,
do you understand
the opposite every experiment?
You guys are trying to say that the ether is still a thing. Where
it is. What do you mean? Yeah, even quantum mechanics says it is. By the way.
You put so much of your beliefs in other men. It's so scary.
Yeah, quantum mechanics is saying quantum.
Brian, life is so much better when you know it's
fluctuations are not ether. If you want to call quantum fluctuations ether, you're just rebranding quantum fluctuations.
What's quantum fluid, Bryant?
What, like superfluids?
What's quantum fluid? No, not like superfluids. No. So you don't know. Okay. What is dark matter?
I admitted earlier that dark matter and dark energy, we don't, just because we don't have answers to everything.
It's ether, buddy. Dude, everything they're talking.
Let's see this list. Debunking flat Earth. I don't know what he's talking about. Map flights and expeditions. I've already debunked that thousands of times. High altitude curvature. That's a lie. The sun, the seasons, gravity, and they can't. And even with the high altitude curvature, even they don't they lie about it, and it's so all over the place with what Neil deGrasse Tyson says and Felix Baumgartner and friggin' you name it. Yeah, the moon over the curve, water curves. Does it? Atmospheres and vacuums, like.
Show me a paper.
Stars and planets.
Why does it have to be a paper?
Why a paper?
Brian, do you understand?
Go look outside, Brian.
Show anything that proves.
Brian, I'll give you 5 quantum physicists saying we have to reintroduce the ether. 5 of them.
Yeah.
Like I have them right here, PDFs.
They
5 of
probably
them.
don't have very much published research. That's
pure. Oh, because that's what dictates.
This is hidden information.
I know, Brian. This is why they have peer review. This is why there's peer review. Peer review protects your guys' science from ever being questioned by anybody else. Yeah. That's why. No, that's why. Because guess what?
You can validate something that.
Sorry, no. Scientists don't. No scientist ever wants their theories told that they're wrong.
Otherwise, it's just one person making a claim, and then there's no validation.
Well, let's talk about Michelson-Morley. Okay, do you know what happened? Okay, so they had a prediction with the Earth moving through the ether. So they shot the interferometry. They got 1/6 of what was predicted, less than 1/6 of the orbital motion around the sun assumed, right, of 30 kilometers a second. So they had an option, which was 2 options, which either throw out the ether or throw out that the Earth was rotating, revolving. Wait. I'm almost done. I don't want to take up a lot of time. I'm just trying to do fast. Okay. So then they went
on Rumble the comments that Bryant is an embarrassment to masculinity or something like that. Let me just go back. That was pretty funny. Embarrassment to masculinity.
The Michelson-Gale-Pearson, where they also used interferometry to look at the rotation, right? And it matched the predictions within 98% of the sidereal rotation. Every time it can be done 1 million times. It works every time. What that proves is that the interferometry does detect the motion if it's there. It's detecting the motion of the Earth, the sky around the Earth, right, in the sidereal rotation, and it does not detect an orbital motion.
At all.
Those two combined debunk the fact that the Earth is spinning. And so it's just been hidden. And the Sagnac effect is what's used for gyroscopes, and Sagnac said it was a vortex in the ether. So there you go.
What Austin said.
I know what Sagnac said.
Facts.
But they found they discovered the effect after that. So he was wrong when he said what he initially said.
Well, you're just saying that, but are you going to address the Michelson-Morley combined with the Michelson-Gale-Pearson?
The Michelson-Morley experiment there was a allowed tolerance for error, and that was within the allowed tolerance.
So what do you mean?
No,
so they still didn't detect it?
That it didn't detect the motion of the orbit, but using the same methodology, it detects the sidereal rotation within 98%
they got
accuracy.
1,200 miles per hour.
Which means that it does detect the motion of the sky around the Earth.
Send you what? It's the Michelson-Morley experiment. Go look at it. Pull the papers.
Yeah,
it's a paper. You love it. It's actually a paper.
I mean, the thing is, though, if you're looking for a paper to be, imagine, Brian, imagine that you started to.
Good answer. Good answer.
Imagine
Brian.
you started to agree with us and you wrote a paper and you turned it into a publication. Do you think they would publish that paper, or do you think that they would trash your name until you weren't able to show your face?
I like
again?
papers
Which
too.
one do you think is true?
You know, I'm a nerd.
Because you're telling us we need to go submit a paper.
The latter.
That's just conspiratorial.
Oh boy!
Oh my God! That's
Good luck.
conspiracy theories
Saying
again.
the Earth's flat and the ether exists,
Wow.
they're going to peer review it and be like, prop this guy up for a Nobel Prize.
And it means everybody that you're giving that paper to is all going to be signing away their entire research, their entire careers is garbage. Yeah, they'll just sign right off. Oh yeah, let's publish this.
That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a fact.
But just the stuff that you say with the electric field, I mean, I know that that's wrong. The
You
forces
still don't get it.
No.
You just don't get it. You know it's wrong because you don't get it.
I do get it. You guys don't understand Maxwell's equations at all. You just don't.
Oh my
What do you
gosh!
think,
Now you're
bro?
Right.
That's what defines electrostatics, my friend. I mean,
Brian, is there any other
next
topics
topic,
you want to
Brian. Yeah,
any
next
more you want to
topic.
cover? Because
Wait,
Can we do Antarctica before we go? Can we please do Antarctica? Please.
Wait,
Brian.
can we talk about the?
I can't.
How about the equinox? The equinox and the 90 degrees. Let's talk about that so we can at least get that out of the way.
Well, it's just going to be. You already have your answer, even though I don't.
Well, because
we have our answer because we've been studying this forever.
Well, you come up with it.
No, there's no coming. Let me explain this to me.
We're going to show you.
Let me show you
stuff
something.
and stuff that you've never seen, and then maybe you can think.
Just
have
try
new
not
ideas.
to say no before.
Yeah,
it's
just
over.
listen for a second. Just follow me and see why this is.
He doesn't want to learn it.
You're saying that at night at the equinox.
Yeah, wait, hold on, Jaron. Put it on the big screen. So
It is on the
you
big
can
screen.
unshare. Oh, is it? Is it? Oh, there you are. All right, never mind. Sorry. My bad.
Okay, so north and south. If somebody is north of you, and are you south of them? Yes, right.
Okay, yeah.
What about east and west? Are they the same as north and south? So if somebody's east of me, I'm west of them.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so what if I showed you that that's not the case at all? If we took somebody who's north and south, yes. If we draw this guy and we go south at 180 degrees right there, then if we drew this line back up, let me save this, and we drew this line back up, now it's going to be exactly north. Okay, this guy is going to be exactly at 0 degrees, right? Okay, great.
So what he's showing is the guy at south is south of the guy north, and the guy north is north of the guy south.
But
just like you would expect.
East-west, if I were to draw a line and say, okay, I'm here in California, and I'm going to go 90 degrees east over here to the East
You can't use a
Coast.
straight line. It's a great circle. You're using a straight line.
No, I'm not. I'm
We're
using
using Google. We're
Earth
going
draws it.
exactly 90 degrees east.
That is a great circle. Okay, so 90 degrees.
Yeah.
See that? So I'm going to hit save on that one. We've got 90 degrees. So now is this guy going to be 270 to this guy? Because when I draw from here and I go 270, 270 is down here. Okay, so what that tells you is that north and south are consistent. You're always north and south, but east and west vary, right? So now if you start drawing lines, let me see this. Okay, so
I'm just not following all what you're trying to do.
I know
Right,
because
they didn't
it's
teach
not
you
what
this.
you believe.
It's not what they taught
it's not about what I
Watch
believe.
again. The guy. What he's saying is the guy. If somebody is 90 degrees east of somebody, the other guy is not 270 degrees west.
Right.
It's completely different because the globe is not real.
Yeah, you're watching it. You're seeing it on a false
I know,
model.
but-
So we're showing it. Their model doesn't work.
I know, but I can't just. I don't know.
So here's the thing. This guy,
I don't
if,
see.
if this
Show
guy's
him
looking
again.
east,
Just listen. Watch again. Jaron's good at explaining this.
well, if this guy's looking east, 90 degrees east is here. Okay, move out of the way, box. 92, 90.
90 degrees east. I don't know what.
90 degrees is dead east.
Yes. See how it
Okay,
says
but
90?
90. Okay, it's just east.
So when you're looking
East.
east, yes,
Okay.
90 degrees is east.
So I'm going to save that one. So now you'll kind of notice something weird as we keep drawing lines of everybody looking 90 degrees. They're all looking at the equator. 90 degrees here is here. Nope, 91, 90. Okay. So now if I keep going with these lines and I go down to the south, every line I draw is going to be pointing at the equator. So if we spin the globe this way, and now we look at what everybody's doing, when it's the equinox, everybody is looking at the equator. So it shouldn't be a shock that we see the sun rise in the east for everybody, because east is everybody's looking the exact same to the exact same point, the equator.
When the sun is
You
at the
guys think-
center,
You guys think
east is all directions.
I just drew it for you.
The
He's
sun-
literally
the
showing
sun-
it to you.
I'm showing you.
Okay, but that's not. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Send
because
me
you
that.
think east is this way.
Listen. You send it to me, and I'll play with it. And I'll
No,
see
you
what's
can
wrong.
do it on Google Earth yourself.
Your own
Tell me
Google
this,
Earth.
Brian.
You have
Brian.
Google Earth.
No, we're not doing any tricks, bro.
Brian, if I'm up here in California and I start walking east, can I walk in a straight line? And
Let me just look. Okay,
No,
just
please
hold
answer
on.
Jaren's simple question.
Just follow
Please,
him.
Jeran.
You
He's like, I can already tell that he's the type of guy. Hopefully not, but like anything that he's going to look at, it's going to be debunk flat Earth, debunk this, debunk this. He's not going to look at anything really. Like he's not going to look at any research or anything like that. It's just going to be to just like it, with a really like limited view. Like he's already skewing the results of his research. He's already like working in a bias. Not a scientist.
Jeran, please ask it again, Jeran.
I'm not going to believe this unless I can look at it.
Just ask the
myself.
question again, please.
so if I'm
See what Google Earth is doing, because I can't just.
okay, if
you
I'm
know,
in California and
believe
I'm
it does not look okay.
let's say I'm in California, I'm at 35 degrees north or something, and I
But
start.
can you at least give me time to play with this myself? To see
Absolutely, we're showing you
Yeah, I
now,
was
and
just
then
asking a
check it
question,
out.
that's
We'll,
all.
we'll have another
I'll check it out
conversation.
because I'm not gonna buy this. What I'm
Just
saying.
soak it in, though.
I'm not
man.
asking you
Just
to
a
buy
real
it.
quick,
See him
simple
doing
question.
it.
Right.
Please, Jeran.
It doesn't look right. It's
Oh, it's gonna be all right,
Google
man. They
Earth.
lied to you about the Earth, brother. It's all
I'm
good.
just-
It's
I
not
just-
big of a deal.
3,000 miles. This is huge. 3,000 miles. I doubt she actually did it.
Doesn't match experiment, then it's wrong, right? If a theory doesn't match experiment or observation, then it's wrong.
Yeah.
You got to throw it away. So
But
why?
I'm telling you,
Hold
some
on.
of the other stuff I can look at, but electrostatics is definitely.
Okay, so I'm not talking about that anymore. So explain to me though why then, when they looked out at the galaxies and saw that gravity wasn't working, then instead of throwing away the theory as they're supposed to do, they added something that we've never observed and said it must be there.
No, that's not how science works. You don't throw away a theory. You find either. No, if it doesn't work, you either can refine it, like like I told you, general.
Okay, so is
relativity.
refining gravity adding dark matter and dark energy?
Again, just because we don't know it, you guys have the same problem. You're whatever magic disc.
We've
is
never
in a
added
void.
anything.
There's no disc. What disc are
And
you
there's no
talking
void.
about, bro?
I'm sorry, whatever you want to call it.
You keep
There's no
showing this
void.
disc in space. You know we don't believe that we're a disc in space,
Where are
right?
you then? Where are you? then?
Earth.
Dave, can you pull up the pond?
We're
Just
like
so they
the
give him a
basement.
freaking vision. That's it.
I've seen the
Because this
pond.
guy thinks we're a disc in space. I wasted
But the
4
pond-
hours if he
but
thinks
the
that.
pond is just
My
a
goodness.
huge.
Come on, man.
What is
No,
it?
it looks
It's
like a
not-
fluid-like medium. If you want speculation station, it looks like there's a fluid-like medium, superfluid behavior, which will give you
But-
perpetual electromagnetic energy without any
It's
type
not
of impedance.
electromagnetic energy.
Photoluminescence would give you the
Oh
stars.
my
It looks like
God.
we are in
Oh,
electromagnetic
he's
vortex of
fucking
the ether. If you
Oh my
wanted the
God.
real gravy, bro, I could give you the
listen,
gravy,
listen.
bro.
No, he
This
wants
is
what's in the
literally
physics
a
book.
fucking-
Austin, what's in the physics book
If
only?
you drop a magnet in an electric field, it will drop at a different rate than something that's not.
I
not
know.
magnetic.
All right,
That works
so
on a flat Earth
look,
really
look
well.
at
Not
Dave, look at
9.8
Dave's screen.
meters per second squared. You're going to have different velocities for different materials. That doesn't work with electrostatics. With
Bryant.
gravity, it works just fine.
Brian, look at Dave's screen real quick, and I don't know, just so you get rid of this disc thing.
Well,
We live in the
This is-
Antarctic basin. Antarctica is the highest land on Earth. It's the container of our pond.
Possibly.
It's the highest place on Earth.
It is the highest land on Earth. What are you talking
What do you mean?
about,
Mount
man?
Everest-
Do you
Mount
just say
Everest-
stuff
No.
out loud?
Not that it's the
What are you
highest
talking
point.
about?
Not the highest point,
Not
but
the
its
highest point.
land
Land
plateau
mass.
is higher than all the others.
Those are
Yeah.
not. You do realize that the Antarctica doesn't have an ice shelf. Those are just ice shelves, by the way. There's ice shelves in Greenland, ice shelves in.
Great, but not the ones that we're
Well,
showing you that are in Antarctica. Those aren't in Greenland.
Those walls you show. I've seen your pictures of the ice wall. They're just an ice shelf.
That's in Antarctica.
It's the shoreline of our pond,
It's
period.
not the
That's
whole-
it.
If you go all the way around Antarctica, it's not
It's
always the shelf.
60,000 miles.
Yeah, Captain Cook did it.
Yeah,
Brian,
sometimes
why
there's
don't you
shores.
research Captain Cook?
There's places where there's no ice shelf that you can go into Antarctica without an ice
Have
shelf.
you ever
That's
researched
possible.
Captain Cook,
Yeah,
Brian? Do you
I've
know what
seen
he
those-
did?
That footage too.
There's a lot of people.
He
that-
navigated around.
However, they're not wrong either. Like with the ice walls, they're hundreds of feet. Okay, and there's people that have attempted to go around them, like including Cook, but other people even recently that they're going to bring up, which like even like traveling over 60,000 miles, like not being able to go around the alleged continent of Antarctica, and like just seeing these very very large ice walls that are like a couple hundred feet, you know. And so he's fucking just like not seeing things. And so even if there's openings, there could be water going out in other areas, like the Iron Curtain and other books would allude to. And so like even with that, like I believe that the toroidal field anyways that is containing this in this multidimensional reality that's being projected on a flat plane of inertia, And so beyond that, anyways, to me, I was saying that with the toroidal fields and hyperboloids, like that, whatever that barrier is, like it would be some kind of like a clear crystallized container. Would have anyway.
On the Earth and went 60,000 miles. Excuse me, hold on. Let me finish one sentence. He went 60,000 miles around the Earth. No way to get in. Can you explain that on your 24,000 mile circumference ball?
And 13,000 mile around Antarctica.
I can tell you many expeditions in Antarctica that I have on my image, but I'm not on the screen right now. But
You need to share your screen.
this is one.
Hit click share.
Approved guided tours where you can only go where the government tells you to go is really not going to in any way.
And one of the ones you're going to show us, Brian, is this woman. She went here, and then she's. She just went to here and turned around and went back. And by the way, this is like 1,000 miles or 2,000 miles. This is huge. 3,000 miles. I doubt she actually did it.
Same thing with
she did.
ZQ
It's right
pilot,
here.
right? The guy who has the record for flying around the South Pole, the circumnavigation.
Look at my image. People go to the South Pole all the time. I mean, you can book
But see, you don't understand what you're seeing there. Go back to that image. Go back to that image.
It's one image.
Go back to that image. Go back.
We're trying to help.
Go back. So this spot that's
look at the lines drawn on the right.
that you're calling the South Pole. It's right here. This is it. Okay, they've wrapped it around. Now there's no images of the south of Antarctica in the center. Yes, there are bases along here. Okay, but there's no images of the center because they brought it all together and it's fake.
Okay, but still, how does light wrap around? I mean, we know there's 20. I mean,
Dude, I can show you right here. I'm going to show you a live time demonstration, okay? You want to know? It's called the coffee cup caustic. Are you ready? Look at this. Look at this. You see how the light is lighting up all the way around it? You see that?
But
you
that's not how our world works.
Oh, it's a coffee cup caustic, buddy.
That's your experiment.
You said it couldn't happen. I just did it for you.
But that's literally your experiment.
But he just showed you that it could happen.
It's possible to literally have a 24-hour sunlight.
Toy, and you're trying to show that this.
That's what a globe is.
Dude, he's such a fucking idiot. Sorry for saying it like that. I just get so annoyed with people like that.
There is an explanation for that.
Oh, we know you claim that the sun and the moon are just refracted up in the air, and it's not really there.
That's what's happening. That's what's happening.
Hey, did anyone notice?
You can do the math on that and see that that's what's happening.
Slightly, I wish I
you can do the math.
Hang on a second. Last night, the moon came up, and I don't know if anyone in chat, if you noticed this, the moon, the sunlight was on the wrong side of the moon. The sun went down over there, the moon was up, and the other side of the moon was lit.
Yeah, the moon's coming up in the mornings, in the early mornings, and right now, because of the geoengineering that's going on in Canada, can't see it. Right, we're getting closer to the eclipse. Right, they don't want you seeing the skies. They don't want you observing the phenomena. They don't want you understanding that it's only possible. Anyway, that's not possible on a globe.
Partially, I'm talking the opposite side of the moon.
As we're spinning, whirling through space.
Those things are always explainable. I mean, whenever I look into something like that, you can see the explanation. They make
the explanation has nothing to do with Earth.
And it's rising more in like east, southeast actually. So it's like kind of in the so east southeast. It's coming up more because like east is more this way for me, and then you've got south there. Anyway.
Yeah.
Brian, by the way, when you said that you did the math, Brian, you need to understand what you're doing is basic remedial fallacies. When you said we did the math, you get the globe model, you predict where the sun should be, you do the math on base where it really was, and you say, oh, it must have refracted this much. That's not proving something. That's ad hoc fallacies to dismiss the geometric impossibility of the solar eclipse, which happens in November again, by the way. Your model gets debunked on a regular basis in the sky.
You can't explain that. I mean, I saw your attempt, but we can easily explain the
polarized lenses show you exactly what could happen during an eclipse. Dun dun dun.
Well, how can you guys explain a lunar eclipse? That's another big
polarized lenses. I just told you.
A polarized lens explains.
Yeah, polarization with an electromagnetic field.
No, you got
no.
The Earth has to be between the sun and the.
Has to be between. Has to be between.
It has to be refracted up where we don't actually see it.
And how do you cast a shadow on something 250,000 miles away? You can't take a basketball, hold it against a wall, have the shadow on it, and then move it away. 10 feet away, there's no shadow anymore. There's no sharp edge. There's nothing. Shadows don't travel like that and make that little curve. And
they only do in the heliocentric model. That's the only time something like that would happen.
This is the actual to scale. See, a lot of those charts with the eclipses are not to scale. You have to use a multi-scale diagram because
that's a cool graphic.
By the way,
we have real videos of real life.
Brian, I'm putting
the moon above
Brian.
the Earth.
Why is the moon? Why is the moon shadow? Oh, that's a solar eclipse. I'm sorry. Never mind.
Brian, I put in the chat for you
the sun and the moon above the Earth during the eclipse.
This is
not cartoon memes that beg the question. We have real life videos, Brian.
Sun and that was the sun and the moon. I saw some fake pictures of the sun and the moon on the same side.
The selenium eclipse has been well documented for many hundreds of years.
Can be explained, though. That can be explained.
No, he just explained to you why that's not explanation. When you take the math and then make it match by saying, "Oh, well, then it's refracted this much," so that it fits the model. That's not proof.
From a higher altitude, you got to take those pictures from a higher altitude.
No, you don't. You can be on the ground level. Taken at the ground. And by the way, if you claim that, Brian, if you claim that, if you claim it's refraction, you have to claim that we never see the actual sun ever. That's what you have to claim.
Selenium eclipse or the impossible eclipse now?
The selenium is the impossible eclipse.
So there's versions of the selenium that are not the impossible, actually.
The selenium eclipse is always impossible. You can't have the sun and moon above the Earth.
Speaking of Taiwan, interesting. 10 dead, over 850 injured. Strongest earthquake in 25 years hits Taiwan. Triggers tsunami warnings in Taiwan and Japan. So I guess that's what the comment was a few hours ago, was regarding sending money to Taiwan. It's for relief.
They're just
during like this period of time as well. During eclipse season, there are more legit natural phenomena that happen, like the hurricanes and the cyclones and stuff like that.
First version's more
And that's
egregious
a high
because the
wind.
shadow comes from the wrong side.
There's refraction from a sunset. You know, a sunset, you can see it further than when it's the same thing that's happened with the impossible eclipse. You can explain all those shadows, but and I know this because a guy brought it up and it stumped me for a little while, but then I finally figured it out. You can explain it.
Go ahead. Magic, ad hoc magic. That's all it is. You're saying
I'm still waiting for an explanation
somewhere else.
Brian,
Yeah, I mean,
and I put in the chat for you it's from Stack Exchange. I'm talking about the fact that it's a completely made up story about the Royal Navy and the Coriolis effect and all that. It's garbage.
Okay, well, whatever. Maybe that I don't know about. I'll look into that.
Okay.
Fact check
Thank
that.
you.
I have seen that.
You got a lot of stuff to look into, bro.
Not just so do you guys. Electromagnetism.
No,
can't
we
explain
don't.
gravity.
I've looked into everything you brought up, bro,
Wait, you
for
really
many
think the
years.
electric field can explain 9.8 meters per second? Because that is so easy to debunk.
Yeah, everything's
So
intrinsically
easy.
electrostatic. It isn't a field pulling it down. It just sets the up and down, and then density separates the rest for the 50th time.
Density is just a relative. It doesn't have a vector to it.
Yeah. But the vector comes by the.
Rolling through that.
You know that things fall at the same. I mean, come on. Electric fields don't work. To describe
If I
gravity.
drop a magnet over top of an area, the ground that has more metal composition, does it drop faster or slower, or exactly 9.8?
If there's no air resistance, it's all going to drop at 9.8.
That's incorrect. If I drop a magnet over top of
a magnet. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. If you,
Okay.
That's
Okay. So stop talking about magnets.
No, listen. That's when you draw a free body diagram. You have two forces you got to account now: the electric force, the magnetic force, and the force of gravity. There's more than just one force in some.
Oh my
It's a
God.
pseudo-scientific fairy tale that needs to explain the convexity of the oceans bending around the ball.
I debate Austin. Is that why you brought him on, Dave? So you got some ace in the whole flat earth.
Ace in the
It doesn't
hole.
matter. He's actually better at it.
You wanted to humiliate Dave, and because you didn't get you, now you're having a
Explaining
tantrum.
these things than me. So you
I'll disengage. I don't want you to get triggered, man. I'm just trying to help you.
Listen. We've been going round and round on this.
I could easily explain to you that the electric field can't work, but you won't listen to that.
No, you can't, because it just sets the bias.
So there's a lot of.
Let me ask you a question. What makes more sense? What makes more sense?
It would be interesting to see what his take is now on the Earth, on the ship of the Earth. I'm a million hours in again. I did want to just share a little bit of my X feed. The things before I leave. On this note. No. Just go into my profile. Because I had mentioned the other day about Adolf Hitler. Doing things live in front of an audience. I just wanted to share it. 1936 Berlin Olympics. Is he rubbing himself with a pistol? The use of methamphetamine, better known as crystal meth, was particularly prevalent. A pill form of the drug, Pervitin, was distributed by the millions to Wehrmacht troops before the successful invasion of France in 1940. So, yeah. This was the carbon tax protest on Monday. These are all RCMP. Abundance of RCMP vehicles are lined up down the road from the carbon tax protest. And that was profoundly disappointing. Showing us what side they would have been on in Europe in World War II. I'm ashamed and disappointed. People are trying to end the carbon scam tax, like people like in rural areas and farmers and stuff like that. So we literally have yet again our government showing us that they are following a dictator's unlawful commands and to steal more money off of us. And it's unfortunate. And they don't understand that they are on the wrong side of humanity. Something on swine flu too I wanted to share with you.
Give flu shots to the American people in October of 76. October 1st.
Former CDC Director David J. Sensor, swine flu 1976.
By that time, how many cases of swine flu around the world had been reported?
There had been several reported, but none confirmed.
Several reported, but none confirmed.
There had been cases in Australia that were reported by the press.
By the press. Every area on Earth where there's been an alleged outbreak of anything, it's always been the news media, always the mainstream news media that makes claims that are always, they end up to be false.
By the news media, there were cases in...
None confirmed.
To scare people.
Giving the public all the information it needed about the swine flu shot.
And it's always within that.
This form stated that the swine flu vaccine had been tested. What it didn't say was that after those tests were completed, the scientists developed another vaccine. And that was the one given to most of the 46 million who took the shot. That vaccine was called X53A.
Was X53A ever field tested?
I can't say. I would have to...
It wasn't.
I can't say.
You began to give flu shots to the American people in October of 76.
October 1st.
By that time, how many cases of swine flu around the world had been reported?
There had been several reported, but none confirmed. There had been cases in Australia that were
Weak men create weak societies.
It means deny, attack, reverse the roles of victim and offender. This is what happens when they squeal like a stuck pig. You say, you're putting porn in front of kids. They say, we're not putting porn in front of kids. And then they attack. You're banning books. And then they reverse the roles of victim and offender. We're the victims here. You have anti-LGBT intentions. You're offending us. This is clinical psychopath behavior. I'm not exaggerating. This is exactly what it is. This is how a narcissistic abuser responds when their narcissistic abuse gets called out. You're going to run into it a lot. Start telling people about Darvo. But Darvo, it means deny, attack, reverse the roles of victim and offender.
Yep.
This is what happens when they squeal like a stuck pig. You say,
this is my Instagram. Still calling out people. That's my dogs. I could have just, I guess, showed you on here, but let me see. Oh yeah, so there was an access to information request put in, and it was provide all records of private, civilian, experimental, or military aircrafts dumping or releasing any of the following chemicals or products over any Canadian land or waters: barium, aluminum, radioactive thorium, cesium, copper, titanium, silicon, lithium, cobalt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we even said like the silver iodide and stuff like that, like for some reason wasn't even put in here. But even with the chaff from aircrafts, it's even been admitted, and even nonprofits also spreading these particulates within the air, like certain ones within this group within the air, and admitting it just in the last few months. This is either a blatant lie, Shelley Emerson, and you should be on like and again like treason, because that's a blatant lie, or who's lying to you because treason. Because we have a right to know that. That was me at the gym yesterday. Yeah. Rachel Levine, MD pediatrician. Not even a joke. Like that general or whatever. What did I say, man? Like they... It's a man working with children. Jon Stewart, the hypocrisy of Jon Stewart. I don't know if you've been listening to that in the media. Oh, just got to pause this because he's like slammed Trump now for forever. Stewart didn't just overvalue his property. That would be a victimless crime if another appraiser came in and paid fair value like in the Trump case. No, what Jon Stewart did was sold his property for 829% more than it was worth. In his case, there is an actual victim. And that victim is the person who bought his penthouse for $17.5 million. Stewart should be investigated for fraud. Now that legal precedent has been set. I totally agree with this. That's disgusting. 829%. And again, when you beak off and stuff like that, like this guy was doing, you're the one that should be the one investigated and charged and stuff like that. Not the people that are just like minding their own friggin' business. No. Letting the hypocrisy speak for itself.
It was super thick. Well, National Weather Services just came.
Wondering what this is. We are too. Our best guess is chaff. The military will sometimes run exercises where they release chaff, and it's completely harmless. But it definitely shows up on radars as it is quite reflective. And again, they're saying it's definitely harmless. It's not harmless. I've shared. Like, look at what they're. Anyway, this will probably share.
Came out and said they were also confused by it when they saw on their radar.
I'm gonna watch full reel.
Okay, you'll remember the fog we just had recently, especially in Texas. It was super thick. Well, National Weather Services just came out and said they were also confused by it when they saw on their radar. And their best guess is chaff. The military will sometimes run exercises where they release chaff, and it's completely harmless. Of course it is, but let's see what exactly that is. So chaff is an aluminum-coated substance made of glass fibers that are less than 1 centimeter in length, per blah, 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 blah journal. Chaff is used as a military radio frequency countermeasure and released from aircraft, ships, and vehicles to confuse enemy radar systems. It was first deployed during World War II. Okay, where are being sprayed by aluminum? It's right here. Is it harmless? Probably not. And also, why are we trying to confuse the enemy? What enemy? What the heck is going on? Okay, you'll remember the fog we just had recently, especially in Texas. It was super thick. Well, National Weather Services just came out and said they were also confused by it when they saw on their radar. And their best guess is chaff. The military will sometimes run exercises where they release chaff, and it's completely harmless. Of course it is, but let's see what exactly that is. So chaff is an aluminum-coated substance made of glass fibers that are less than 1 centimeter in length, per blah, 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 blah journal. Chaff is used as a military radio frequency countermeasure and released from aircraft, ships, and vehicles to confuse enemy radar systems. It was first deployed during World War II. Okay.
I'm sorry. I gotta just end. There's a little bit of a. I just want to share something before I end the stream. So Big Dipper Polaris swastika. That's just like the what I wanted to bring up. This is regarding the seasons, and so there's a Polaris of the North Star. I mean, the Big Dipper, like during the different seasons, it forms a swastika based on the whether it be the 22nd of September, 21st of March, 21st of December, or the 21st of June. And then you have it, well, like anyway, just very interesting. But it's where it's plotted out the Big Dipper in reference to the Polaris during like those major seasons, during the seasons. Not daily. It wasn't said. Where was I going with this? Was it Instagram?
Where are being sprayed by
chaff is aluminum coated. So we were asking about aluminum specifically too, and various different compositions of it, and they said that wasn't being released.
Aluminum, it's right here. Is it harmless? Probably not. And also, why are we trying to confuse the enemy? What enemy? What the heck is going on? Okay, y'all remember the fog we just had recently?
That's a good point. And there are friggin' people that in CERN and HARP and all of the friggin' like so many different organizations that are doing experiments and research and stuff like that on the 8th of April. Very interesting. Very interesting. And I didn't go too much into this, but there's just a lot of weird news regarding Kate, regarding her parents, regarding a whole bunch of other people that are now more and more outside of the spotlight. Just all very interesting stuff, and have been for a series of months. And so maybe it's just because of everything that's been coming out, they realize that people are not going to be happy. And I'm urging everyone to be peaceful and rational and stuff like that, and just understand that we've been lied to about a lot of stuff. And right now we just have to fire people, hold people accountable via jail and the legal system. But it's so corrupt right now. Oh my God, especially Canada. Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. Yeah. And people are talking about Justin Trudeau staying in power for another year and a half. And like, that just makes my soul crushed. Like it just, like the fact that this guy's not even in jail yet is just unbelievable to me at this point. But I mean, I say unbelievable. Nothing's unbelievable, I guess, anymore. But I would say like very disappointing. And can't do anything about it. We try to call, no answer. Try to email, no answer, no response. Try to do peaceful protests. We get the full arm of the law that are out to intimidate people. Anyway, it's unfortunate. But on that note, I will leave it at that. And I hope that everyone, despite all the chaos, has a very wonderful rest of your day.